Alrighty then, episode 48. Well, now we've both got laptops, very professional today.
Yeah, the printers are, the toner's down, John, so I'm just...
We're basically newsreaders now.
Getting a bit more up to date with my technology today.
How are you, man?
Yeah, good, thanks, John. Before we started recording a moment ago, we were just saying how boring the Super Bowl was, how it bored us out of our brain yesterday.
Man,
Seriously, John, it could be the most boring sport in the world, American football. I can't think of anything I've seen that's more boring than that.
I was at an event and it was heaps funny because, you know, they turned up the alcohol at 10 a.m. and by like 11 there was a dude passed out on a table downstairs. So he probably slept there for the next 10 hours before the Super Bowl finished.
Yeah, he probably still saw the end of the game, John.
Just kept going and going and going. I can't comprehend how anyone watches that crap.
You watch one play that goes for 10 seconds, and then you have a 5 or 10 minute break in play. You have another ad break, and then another ad break, and another ad break.
What are they doing during that time, you know? And, like, what are the crowd doing during that time? I'm really curious as to, do people actually what's happening in the crowd at this time when you're sitting around going, well, on the television there's a commercials?
I'll tell you what, John, the NRL doubleheader to open the season is actually going to be played at the same ground as the Super Bowl was held at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And I think that's rather appropriate, John. If the people who went to the Super Bowl bother to make the trip to Allegiant Stadium in a few weeks' time, they'll get a look at a real game of football and not this garbage that they were subjected to yesterday.
They'll have 2 games in the time it took to play 1 quarter of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I just don't know how anybody in their right mind would watch a game of American football and then watch a game of Rugby League and think that American football is a better game to watch. I just don't know how anybody with a rational mind could honestly make that assessment after watching the two.
I watched it and just thought, you know, I've watched it before. I was telling everyone at the event yesterday, like, my main experience comes from playing the video game and then watching some American football because I didn't understand the video game. I watched a couple of games, so it's not matches, it's games. You know, 20 years ago. I really just think if they just didn't stop, you know, they can have the set plays, all right, tackle first down or whatever, you know, 2nd and 8, whatever, right? And then instead of all going off the field and talking to their coach and having a 10-minute huddle and then going back, all right, we're going to play another 10 seconds now, if they just went, all right, go again. Let the dudes on the field have to call the stuff, and that's it. And then you could go, and the game would be over in like an hour.
I mean, it's no wonder they put the camera on Taylor Swift all the time, John. I mean, there's nothing happening on the field, so what else are they going to do?
It's bizarre.
You can't blame the cameraman.
It's so bizarre. I don't understand. And then, you know, they have the halftime show, which is the main thing. Like, my wife messaged me and said, how was the halftime show? And then when I got home from the gym, she was watching the halftime show.
Yeah, well, they say it's the only sporting event in the world where the halftime entertainment and the ads on the coverage get more, you know, are more sort of more prominent than the game itself, and you can see why. Because so little happens in the game. Yeah. It's no wonder the ads with, you know, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Tom Brady for Dunkin' Donuts or whatever it was get more. You know, people are talking about them more than the actual game. Yeah, why would you talk about the game?
I only cared about the movie previews. Deadpool 3 movie preview came out. Very exciting.
And yeah, exactly. And the amazing thing is there was actually a thrilling finish in this game. But we're not talking about it.
It just took hours.
There was a winning touchdown in overtime that got the Chiefs the win. And we've overlooked it completely. We were so bogged down by how boring the whole game was.
Because it took hours to get there, and I just gave up. Started at like 10:30, and I left the venue at 2 p.m. before or whatever. I think it was around 1:32 before the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then sat in the office, had some meetings and stuff like that, and then finally after like another hour, it was like, oh, okay, so these guys won. And then I was like, so is that Taylor Swift's team? I can't remember. Like, it was Taylor Swift's team who won. Yeah,
it was.
So
Anyway.
we now know the conspiracy is on.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll get into the Super Bowl in a little bit more detail later on, John, but I thought it was worth leading off with
Now,
how boring it was.
as we mentioned last podcast, we're going to kick off with Rugby League because there's only the Who Cares Cups going on in cricket all around the world right now.
Yes.
And just so we can get through this stuff and because we've got some, hopefully, I'll find out today, exciting news for episode 50, we're going to do 3 today. 3, because that way on Thursday we can do the last 2. So today we're going to do, honestly, guys, it's just our opinion, and we'll kick off with the Knights preview for 2024. I better actually find my notes. There they are. And I also better find my ladder.
Yeah. The ladder's getting interesting, John. Only 5 teams left. I'm interested to see how yours is shaping up.
You've got you've only got 3 spots left in the top 8, and I've got 4.
Yeah.
So let's see where we think the Knights are going to finish.
Yeah.
So they've had some gains. They obviously had that run last year where they were terrible, and who's the coach again? Adam O'Brien's job was in danger. They were writing his obituary, and then they went on that 10-run streak. And we discussed at the end of last year with their season review, it was kind of not the toughest competition, but their team has had massive changes. So
they've lost Dom Young, who was the top try scorer last year, John.
Yep.
So he scored 25 tries last year. So where are they going to get those 25 tries from? They've lost Lachlan Fitzgibbon, they've lost Kurt Mann, they've lost Farmanu Brown. And just off looking at some of these ins, John, I don't think they have made the appropriate replacements, have they? Kai Pearce-Paul from the Wigan Warriors, Will Price from the Huddersfield Giants, Jack Cogger from the Panthers. I know there's a lot of raps on Jack Cogger, John. I'm not sure about Jack Cogger, though, John. I think he was made to look good by that Penrith side who was around him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's really the answer there in the halves for the Knights. And Jed Cartwright and Tom Jenkins as well. I think they've lost a lot more than they've gained this year, John.
They've lost that dominant game. Bailey Hodgson as well, Adam Clune. They've lost so much and they've gained so little, and that's the big issue I see for them this year. As I said, they went on that 10 winning streak run that got them into the finals after pushing for the spoon, basically. And the competition in those 10 wins weren't actually that good when you analyse it. Yes, they won a finals match, and then they lost their second finals match.
Yeah, they lost to the Warriors 40-10 in week 2.
Yeah. So that's Adam O'Brien's 5th season in charge. He started 2020. He has made the finals every year except 2022. So 3 out of 4. But last year was his first finals game win. They beat the Raiders, yeah? They're the ones that knocked the Raiders out.
Yes, they beat them in extra time.
Yeah. Yes. Just a quick note, they're the 11th favourite to win the premiership, that $26. And with the bookies, they're actually sitting at 9th. They're the 9th favourite to make the 8, $1.90, so bet with your head not over it.
I mean, that run that Kalen Ponga went on in that 10 in a row streak that they had, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it was Tom Trebojevic in 2021 or Ben Barber in 2012 or Jared Hayne in 2009, but it probably wasn't all that far away, John. It was a very good run of form from Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
And that sort of a run of form can be hard to replicate. Ben Barber never replicated his 2012 form, ever. Jared Hayne never replicated his 2009 form, and Tom Trebojevic since 2021 hasn't been able to get on the field for long enough. So that you can't just turn up every year and produce that sort of rare form like that.
No.
So if they're relying on, and again, before that run of 10 in a row, you've touched on it, John, they were battling for the spoon. They were down the bottom of the ladder, and Adam O'Brien's job was in jeopardy. So I just sort of feel, John, I feel like they're due for a slide. I have to say, and And look, I'm in a similar frame of mind to the bookies. I know they've got them on the 11th line of betting. John, I've got to say, I've got them finishing 15th this year.
That is who did I have finishing 15th? The Raiders. No, I know I had the Tigers. So, yeah. Well, if you look at they have a easy draw. This is one of the things, right? And that's what they had last year as well. They had an easy run home. It's different before we start the season when we talk about easy draw. When you're in the middle of the season, you talk about an easy draw. Because in the middle of the season, we knew where all the teams were at. And so they played teams like the Rabbitohs, who everyone expected to be difficult in their run home. They played, Dragons, obviously. Bulldogs, Dolphins, Tigers. They are... playing the bottom 4 7 times and the top 8 11 times. So who they're playing twice is the Raiders, Bulldogs, Dolphins, Titans, Storm, Panthers, Warriors, Tigers. Now you look at that, they got the Storm, Panthers and Warriors twice. That's a massive ask, right? For 4 home games in the first 6 rounds, so that's good. But when they travel, they do have to travel far in those opening 6 rounds, right? So they're going to Cowboys, far north as you can get in Australia. They're also going to the Warriors. That's their 2 away games. Other than that, they got the Raiders, Cowboys, Storm, Dragons, and Roosters. Now, in that opening 6, they've got Storm, Warriors, Roosters. So I can't see them winning them. I could see them beating the Dragons at home. I could see them struggling with the Cowboys away, and I could see them beating the Raiders at home. So I could only see like 2 possible wins in that opening 6, and they're going to be the same as last year. They're going to be down the bottom of the spoon. Now their run home is really easy as well. Again, like last year, it kicks off with the Panthers, which is difficult. And they got the Tigers, Sharks, Rabbitohs, Titans, Dolphins. Again, so many home games. Got 3 home games out of their final 6. In theory, they could have another one of those runs at the end. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't see them doing that, and I have them actually finishing 14th.
Yeah, and I am wary, John. I am wary in the pre-season of reading too much into the draw as well. I mean, it's a new year.
Absolutely.
It's a new year. We don't know how good certain teams are going to be. You know, we're just guessing with certain teams on how good they're going to be this year. So you might look at the draw a certain way right now in February, but then we might get to June and you might be looking at it in a completely different way, given how teams have gone in the first half of the season. So I am wary of reading too much into the draw at this stage. I'd much rather be looking at, recruitment, gains and losses.
Yeah.
Injuries, that sort of thing I think carries a lot more weight than the draw, especially at this stage. But yeah, I guess some of these positional battles will be interesting, John. I know Willie Mason has no time for Tyson Gamble at 5'8" there. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Jack Cogger can force his way in there, John, or whether Tyson Gamble will keep his spot there at 5'8".
I kind of have the feeling that Jack Cogger's been bought specifically to get that starting spot, actually. He's gone from that Panthers system. He's a grand final winner. He is the perfect fill-in for both Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai during the season. So he can play 7 or 6. And I would say they're looking for him to come in and become that perfect kind of fill-in either way and give not star power, but that heightened level to their spine, right? Because as Willie Mason said, you got Kalen Ponga and 3 other guys. Sorry, Tyson Campbell. As I've said multiple times, that's not the worst spine in the NRL anymore.
Yeah.
So Kalen Ponga and then 3 other guys, but now you've got Kalen Ponga and premiership winning 5'8" Jack Cogger.
Yeah, but John, I did have to laugh. There's a report I read that talked about Jack Cogger had an assured 29-minute grand final cameo after the Panthers lost Jerome Luai, and I thought, come on, it was Nathan Cleary.
Well, he did his job.
Who are you kidding?
Yeah, he played well in that 29 minutes he played when Nathan Cleary set up and scored 3 tries to take the game. But yeah, I just don't see them going well. I can't see them replicating, as you said, Kalen. They won that 10 on the back of Kalen Ponga in ridiculous form, playing 10 not so good teams from halfway through the year that got them into the finals. I don't really see how Adam O'Brien's job could be in danger next year if he misses the finals. It'll only be the second time he's missed the finals since he started. But, the Knights are a bit funny like that. They're perennial bottom of the ladder kind of team, actually.
Yeah.
They haven't won many premierships, and they won on the back of Andrew Johns. And they just don't accept mediocrity, but come on.
John, sometimes the stars just align for a player, and I think that they did for Kalen Ponga at the back end of last year. I know I keep talking about Ben Barber in 2012, John, but it was just extraordinary. At fullback for the Bulldogs that year, he'd get the ball in his own in-goal and he'd run through the whole team and score down the other. And it happened a number of times, John. Like, who does that? And it only happened that year for him. It never happened again. The stars can just align for a little while. And that's great.
Yeah.
But maintaining that is another thing altogether, John. And that's I just can't see Kalen Ponga being able to maintain that form that he had in that 10-game winning streak towards the back end of last year. I mean, he'll be good again, but whether he gets to that level again...
Well, yeah, and it was. I think there was a lot to do with missing out on Origin as well, where he took it as a slight and then went out and carved everyone up, right? If he misses out on Origin for the second year in a row, he can't take it as a slight and give that extra motivation. Now it's just a expectation. If he makes it to Origin, it gets in the way of the Knights' campaign as well, because they'll be without Kalen Ponga for a few games, who is their most important player. So yeah, I just can't see them going well. That'll be the Knights down the bottom of the ladder. As you said, you've got them 15th. I've got them 14th. Yeah, they're the one of the teams from last year that made the 8 that we both see missing. So that's 2 teams out of the 8. Oh, 3. Sharks, Knights and Raiders that we've got moved out.
I've got a team here I can take you through, John. Predicted round 1 team here. Kalen Ponga at fullback, Tom Jenkins and Greg Marju on the wings. It's disappointing that they've lost Dom Young, John. Dane Gagai and Bradman Best, who played Origin last year in the centres, John. Mm-hmm. John, I am going with Tyson Gamble at 5'8" for the moment, but the caveat on that is watch your back. Jack Cogger could come in at any time if your form slips, but I think Tyson Gamble will get first crack there because he did take them to week 2 of the finals last year, even though Willie Mason thinks he had nothing to do with it, John. Jackson Hastings at halfback, Daniel Saifidi and Leo Thompson in the front row, Jaden Brayley at hooker, Tyson Frizzell, Dylan Lucas and Adam Elliott in the back row. Mm-hmm. Adam Elliott at lock, the other 2 in the back row. The bench, Phoenix Crossland, Jacob Saifidi, Jack Hetherington and Jed Cartwright, John.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my predicted round 1 team for the Knights.
So there's only like one... to use Willie Mason, you look through that 1 to 17 and you see Kalen Ponga and then 16 other guys. Like, it's just I just don't think they have the team. Maybe Adam O'Brien is building to something. I think maybe last year was unexpected, and it looks like they haven't recruited very well to continue on with that form. So yeah, that'll do me for the Knights. Like they'll be. Don't know. I wouldn't have anyone betting on them making the 8. That's the thing.
I can just quickly run you through their casualty ward as it looks, John. Kai Pierce Paul has a toe injury, but he should be right to go, John, the new recruit from the Super League. Christian Mapapalangi, I think I got that right, has a shoulder injury, but he should be right to go if they need him. Phoenix Crossland has a knee injury, should be right for round 1. Jackson Hastings, an ankle injury, but should be right to go for round 1, John.
Yeah, still don't.
That's the thing, John. I've got 4 teams who didn't make the 8 last year, making it this year. So that means that other teams have to make way. And I just think all things considered, the Knights will be one of those teams.
Yeah,
John.
100%. It's just like, I think you have to take them from the majority of last year as opposed to the minority, the 10 run, and look at the gains and losses to really have an understanding of what's going to happen. Like the majority of last year they were very poor, and their team this year is arguably worse. So if the majority of this year they're very poor, you can't see a worse team managing to get a 10-match winning streak to get into the finals. So yeah, I completely agree. We can move on to the Warriors now. Mm-hmm. So honestly, guys, it's just our opinion for the 4th placed Warriors preview for 2024. Quick gains and losses. They've gained Kurt Capewell. It's a good gain. Mm-hmm. And Chanel Harris-Tavita and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, their favourite son, has returned.
Yep, played for the All Blacks and now he's back.
Yep. Sure. They've lost Josh Curran to the Bulldogs, Bailey Sirenen to Catalans, Viliami Vailey to North Queensland Catalans, and Braden William retired. Obviously, they got Sean Johnson. This is his last year. He's been re-signed. Got a contract to the end of 2024. This will be his last chance ever to win a premiership after returning. So now they've got their 2 favourite sons back, Sean Johnson and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. They do have a pretty easy draw, no matter which way you look at it, based even on our ladders. Playing last year's bottom 4 teams 6 times. They play twice. They play the Raiders, Bulldogs, Sharks, Dolphins, Titans, Seagulls, Storm, and Knights. And so only the Storm and Sea Eagles we have in our 8. That's for us. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outside the 8 teams. So they got a pretty easy run, based on our past, 13 previews. Yeah. First 6 rounds they're playing. They open the season with the Sharks at home, then Storm away, then Raiders home, Knights home, Rabbitohs away, Sea Eagles at home. Mm-hmm. And they finish with the Eels, Dolphins, Sea Eagles, Bulldogs, Sharks, and then a bye. Now, it used to be you look at all those things and it matters for the Warriors home and away. But since they spent those couple of years in Australia during COVID, it's irrelevant. And that's what made them such a force last year. Mm-hmm. The home and away didn't matter. Because in the olden days, what you do is, Warriors in Australia, lose. Warriors at home, flip a coin. But last year they showed true consistency, so much so that Andrew Webster won Coach of the Year for the most improved team.
Most improved Coach of the Year.
Yeah. This is his 2nd year in charge as well.
Yeah. You talk about Andrew Webster, John. A bit's been made of his ability to really get the best out of the players on his roster, much in the same mould as Craig Bellamy. A lot of other coaches just rely solely on recruitment of players. But Webster's a guy who can really, he doesn't necessarily need to go to market that much. He can really maximise the talent of the players he's got with him and get the absolute best out of them. And I think that gives the Warriors a huge advantage over other clubs who rely a lot more on, on buying the right players on the open market. So I think that gives Webster's ability in that regard gives the Warriors a huge advantage. And to add Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on top of who they already had last year, you talked about Webster winning the Dally M Coach of the Year, Most Improved Coach of the Year. RTS won a Dally M himself in 2018, John. Had 2 seasons in rugby union. As I said before, played for the All Blacks. And also Kurt Capewell, who was only a few minutes away from winning that premiership last season with the Broncos. They're huge ins for the Warriors, John, on top of who they already had last year. And from what I've seen, they haven't lost a whole lot. There's not many outs there. So, John, I'm going bold here. I'm tipping the Warriors to win the premiership in 2024. I think it's their time. I think they got the coach to do it. And with 2 new high-profile recruits joining an already formidable 17, I think they got the team to do it as well. So
they're paying $23 to win the premiership, 9th favourite. So that's not a bad bet, actually. Bet with your head not over it, of course. You got a round 1 team. You think Tuivasa-Sheck? So Tuivasa-Sheck coming back from Union is a good thing. I think I mentioned before, the players that come back from Union tend to be more sticky in defence, because obviously in Union there's much more integral to be sticky in defence. So the reads don't change, but the stickiness in defence. So what's your...
Yeah, and that's why I've got him in the centres, actually, John. So I've got Shans Nickel-Clockstad at fullback.
Has to go fullback.
Yeah, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and Marcelo Montoya on the wings. It was a bit touch and go whether to have Montoya there, but I've just got him there, John. Rocco Berry and our man RTS in the centres. Tamare Martin and, of course, Sean Johnson in the halves. Aden Fanua-Blake, he's in the front row partnering Mitch Barnett. I know Kerry O'Keefe doesn't like talking about him, John, but we're going to talk about him.
Talk about him in February, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot more interesting than talking about the cricket at this point in time. Wade Egan at hooker. Jackson Ford and Kurt Capel in the second row. Tohu Harris at lock. On the bench, I've got Dylan Walker, Jazz Tavanga, Marata Niokore, and Tom Ale.
That's a great team.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal team. They are paying $1.75 for a top 8 finish. It only occurred to me like yesterday we should have given the odds for everyone anyway, but slide it in there.
Yeah, I mean, they change all the time, don't they? So, maybe we could do that on the last day.
Yeah, definitely.
Give all the odds.
Bookies have basically got them at 8th. I, on the other hand, have them at 5th.
You got them 5th?
Yep. I think they're going to have a cracker of a year. I do not think they'll win the premiership. But yeah, at 5th, I think they're going to go really well. It's just the teams that I've got above them. Obviously, we both had the Roosters at 4. The teams that I've got above them, I think, appear, better than them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can put me in for number 1 for them, John.
So you think they're going to win the minor premiership?
Yeah, and the premiership.
Oof. Ooh, will that be their first minor premiership? It will be, yeah.
We can look that up, John. I'm not 100
I think
off the top of my head. They've made 2 grand finals in 2002 and 2011. I'm not sure if they've won a minor premiership before.
They've had some terrible coaches throughout the year. Won one minor premiership in 2002.
Okay, so that was the year they made the grand final. They won the minor premiership. Of course, that was the year the Bulldogs got booted for those salary cap breaches, John.
And they won the National Youth Competition title 3 times. Wow. I wish the NYC would come back. I really liked it. I love the fact they had no video ref as well. That was my favourite thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'd go there, I'd watch before the game and see, scores of 48 to 46. But it was fun.
So Sean Johnson and Dimitri Sifakula are the 2 injury concerns, John. Sean Johnson's got a bit of an ankle issue. He should be good to go for round 1. Sifakula's got a knee injury. Probably won't be back till the mid-season, John.
Sean Johnson is half Lao. My wife is Lao, and so they've all the Lao people in the world have a soft spot for the Warriors because of that. But yeah, I think they're going to have a good year. And it'll be interesting because it is that whole thing, Webster, the most improved coach. He could have won last year, just not being based on the most improved coach. But unfortunately, that award is a bit of a joke. As you said, I think it'll be a really good, he'll have a good season and because of the way he coaches.
It'd be interesting to see. Because we got Tamare Martin, who I think he'll be there for round 1, John. But Luke Metcalf, he's another option. They both suffered some injuries last year, so that sort of made the decision easy for Webster. While one of them was fit, the other one was injured, but now they'll both be fit. So he's got a bit of a decision to make there. I think Tamare Martin will get the nod there, John, but at least they will have Metcalf there in case there are any injury concerns.
Yeah, definitely.
Good to go to come in there.
And so that'll be our Warriors preview. We can move on to the 3rd place Storm for 2024. So obviously Storm are always in the top 8 and they're always in everyone's top 8. I don't know if Craig Bellamy's ever missed the finals except the year that they couldn't play for points.
Booted, yeah.
I love their gains. Shane Bloor, West Tigers. The end. They have lost Tom Eisenhuth, Jaden Nikarima, Justin Olam, and Tariq Sims. But even... you just discussed, you got to look at gains and losses for your previews. It's irrelevant when it comes to Melbourne. It just seems to be no matter who they lose, who they gain, they're still going to go hard. They've got a really tough draw. Again, kind of irrelevant when it comes to the Storm. They play the top 8 teams 12 times, and they play bottom 4 only 4 times. They do play the Broncos, Dolphins, Knights, Eels, Panthers, Rabbitohs, Roosters, and Warriors twice. So in that, obviously, we've got Broncos, Eels, Panthers, Rabbitohs, Roosters, and Warriors as top 8 teams for 2024. So they're going to have a hard one. They have the hardest start to the season out of any team. Playing the Panthers at home to open the season, then Warriors, then Knights away, which is an easy one, a bye, then Broncos, Bulldogs, and then their 7th game is actually the Roosters. So it's a tough couple of months for the Storm. Their run home, on the other hand, is Dragons, Rabbitohs, Panthers, Dolphins, Cowboys, Broncos. So a bit of a middle of the road. Again, I think it's irrelevant when it comes to the Storm. You know they're going to be in the 8. They're paying $1.40 to be in the 8, and as usual, they're like $9 for the premiership at the beginning of every year, thanks to Craig Bellamy, arguably the greatest coach in the history of the game.
I'm going to be Mr. Controversy today, John. I've got them missing the 8 this year.
You are mad. It's only, you've only got 2 spots left, and you got Panthers, Broncos, and Storm. Where are you gonna?
Oh, yeah, you got number 10 there.
That's what I mean. Like, I was wondering how you're gonna put.
You're wondering how I was gonna do it.
Who are you gonna put out there?
Yeah. John, I know you might think I'm mad, and you might be sending me off to a mental institution.
Absolutely.
Shortly, but, I think they. It worried me how much they struggled in the finals last year, John. They got thumped 26-0 by the Broncos in round 1. They were lucky to scrape past the Roosters 18-13 in week 2. They won the game in the dying stages with that late try, you might remember.
Yep.
And in week 3, they were thrashed again, this time by the Panthers. It was 38-4, John. So to me, it just showed them to be a team that's looking weary. The fact they've recruited no players worries me. I felt like they needed to inject some life into the squad, John. They needed some new recruits, I felt. And as I say, John, I am expecting the Cowboys, Manly, Parramatta, and Souths to reach the 8 this year. So if you're going to say that 4 teams are going in, well, 4 teams have to come out. And, John, for me, the Storm are one of them. I just looked at that and I thought, how could you have a final series like they had last year and not recruit anybody? It concerned me, John. And I think that they're in a similar boat to Cronulla, I believe, in that that weary showing in the finals, just not firing a shot in the finals. To me, it's got missing the 8 on the cards for them this year.
Oh, I can't wait to bring this one back up.
I feel like I'm not going to live this one down.
Told you were crazy. I think, so when they were last won in 2020, correct?
Yes.
So they're due for a premiership.
By their standards, yes.
And I think historically, so 2016 they lost the grand final. 2017 they won.
Yes.
2019 they lost the prelim against the Roosters. 2020 they won. They have 2011 they lost the prelim. 2012 they won. Obviously they went through that run where it was grand final. There's no pattern with the Storm. I don't think you can take any reading of their previous year's final series to see how they go this year, because there is no pattern where you can look like, all right, Bellyache and his teams go through a bit of a slump in final series before winning a grand final. They've done it all. They've lost grand finals. They've won grand finals. They've slid out of the final. Like, they were the back when it was 1v8, they were the first team to ever come first and lose to the Warriors. The Warriors pipped them really late in the game. Like, it's just history has shown that no matter what happens, Craig Bellamy he's not a mad scientist like Des Hasler, where you can go like, well, he's going to do something weird. He's just going to bring out a hell of a consistent team. They're going to march up the field. They're going to hold the ball, and I think they will march into second place. In the finals.
All right.
Yeah. And I think I actually think they'll win. We don't really see
that the same way, do we?
I actually think they'll win. I think they'll win the finals, the grand final next year. Yeah.
Right. So you got them finishing second in the minor premiership and then winning the premiership.
Yeah. Okay. And they might beat Panthers. Have we got a first round team?
Yes, we do. I will run through that.
Billy Slater at 1, Greg English at 3.
So, yes, we got Ryan Pappenhausen at fullback. Fingers crossed he has no injury concerns, John. He's due for some good luck on the injury front. So, hopefully he can stay on the field. Will Warbrick and Xavier Coates on the wings. Nick Meaney and Remus Smith in the centres. Cameron Munster and Jerome Hughes in the halves, obviously. Tui Kamika and Christian Welch in the front row. Harry Grant at hooker, obviously. Trent Loiro and Ali Essa Katoa in the second row. Hope I got that out right, John. Josh King at lock. And on the bench, I've got Sua Fa'alongo, Nelson Asofa Solomona, Alec McDonald, and Aaron Penne on the bench.
See, it's a strong team. But I think it's just because it's, what is it called? Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy, no matter what, makes it a strong team.
And it's going to be, and we talk about Craig Bellamy, set to call it a day at the end of the season, John, and hand over to Jason Riles after 22 seasons at the helm. So,
Riles, you come to the Dragons, bro. No, it's all right. We got Flano now. Before he even starts, Dragons fans already got him sacked. This is we have got a couple of disagreements. So just our ladders so far. Dan obviously has the Warriors in first. Second and third is the only blank spot. So obviously Panthers and Broncos will be in there. Yep. Then Roosters, Cowboys, Sea Eagles, Eels, and Rabbitohs round out the 8. With the Dolphins, Storm, Sharks, Bulldogs, Titans, Dragons, Knights, Raiders, Tigers missing the 8. Whereas I have first and third spots free, with Storm at second, and then Roosters, Warriors, Sea Eagles, Eels, Rabbitohs being my top 8, with the Dolphins, Sharks, Bulldogs, Titans, Cowboys, Knights, Tigers, Raiders, and Dragons missing the 8. We do have a couple of differences in there, and this will, when we're finished, it will go up on smartb.com.au as a news article, so you can see where we're at, and we'll clip out all of the, honestly, guys, just our opinion in there. Yeah. So you'll be able to see, come back to us at the end of the year and abuse us on the internet.
Yeah, I got a feeling I'm going to cop some heat over having the Storm out of the 8, John.
It's going to be one of those, this guy's clearly never played a game if he thinks that.
Sorry, we're used to that sort of criticism now, John. I guess the only, positional battle to sort of have a look at, John, is if Pappenhausen can't get himself right. I think Nick Meaney is obviously a very capable
he'll be
option to have there at fullback. I've got him in the centres with Pappenhausen at fullback for round 1, John. But obviously, if Pappenhausen isn't right for whatever reason, we hope that he is, John. But if he's not, then Nick Meaney can just slot in there for them, John.
Pappenhausen was a big contributor to why they they went so poorly in the finals as well. Like, they'd spent the whole year expecting him to come back and do something. He came back and he played really well, and he's opening game, changed the game when he came on the field, then broke his ankle and went out, and that was what they were relying on, really, him being there, and they couldn't get over it. If he's fit and firing and they don't have any issues, I think you're wrong.
I don't think you're the only one who thinks I'm wrong on that one.
Crazy. But it's good money to bet on the missing the 8 as well, actually.
We'll revisit that later in the year, John. Maybe I'll have some egg on my face. Maybe not. We'll see.
And so that's honestly, guys, it's just our opinion. We obviously have 2 more to do, which we'll get to at the end of this week in our next episode. The grand final appears Panthers and Broncos to do, and then we'll have our ladder fully finished for the year. Yes. On to Rugby League news. Mm-hmm. It looks like Luke Brooks has found his feet. Now, I read a lot about this, and I watched some footage of it. There's a bit of footage floating around the internet. So the Manly played a trial against South Sydney. Obviously not full-strength teams and stuff like that. But
not officially part of the NRL pre-season, but it was a trial that went ahead on Sunday there, John.
And Luke Brooks carved them up, actually. I read a thing this morning with Daily Cherry Evans talking about it, and he's saying they have a lot in common in their personal lives as well. Both got daughters. They're clicking really well off the field as well as on the field. And there's some footage I saw of just an amazing behind-the-back flick pass to set up a try, Benji Marshall-esque.
We should point out, Manly did win the game 68-6, John, but we should point out that it was a South Sydney side predominantly made up of reserve graders, but we need to point that out. I guess that's all Luke Brooks can do, John. He can only beat who's put in front of him in that game. There isn't anything else he can do. I wouldn't be getting too carried away with that, John.
The trials are meaningless.
Yeah.
But
you know what might work in Brooks's favour is at the West Tigers he had the pressure of being that it guy playmaker where everything hinged on him, and he will not have that this year with Daly Cherry Evans there with him, and obviously you got the other superstar there in Tom Trbojevic as well. That's going to take a lot of pressure off him, and it's going to free him up. He won't have the stress and the pressure of playing halfback and having the result hinging on his shoulders. And look, that may bring out the best in Luke Brooks this year, but I wouldn't be reading a whole lot into a trial game against South Sydney reserves.
It's like, basically played the under-9s. But still, it's good, as you said, it's really good. Like, he'll have Daly Cherry Evans, he'll have Josh Schuster,
yes.
Tom Trbojevic there, forwards rolling forward, and literally zero pressure. Because it's not going to be a matter of if Manly's going bad, people go, well, it's Luke Brooks' fault. You know, nobody is going to blame Luke Brooks no matter what. Yeah. Even if he plays poorly, no one's going to blame him.
That's the thing. DCE will take the heat if Manly don't go well. It won't be Luke Brooks. And
exactly.
And knowing that he doesn't have that pressure on him, it may bring out the best of him, John.
Definitely. So I hope Luke Brooks does well. He seems to be basically the only one of that big four that was at the Tigers that didn't go on to any type of great heights. Like, you know,
to be fair to him, I think Aaron Woods is in the same boat as him on that one, John.
Well, he played like rep football he's like, you know, well loved in the media, and he gets to go over to America. Like, he hasn't. Poor Luke Brooks, the one that stayed, hasn't reaped any rewards of being that in that big four. I hope he's now able to go off and get some of that.
I mean, obviously Mitchell Moses and James Tedesco have gone on to do great things, but I just sort of thought, you know, Aaron Woods, to be fair to Luke Brooks, he hasn't reached any great heights. I mean, 11 seasons with the Tigers, never played finals football. I know Aaron Woods got to play rep football and everything, John, but I didn't think especially not in recent years. Not since he left the Tigers, I don't think he's reached any great heights.
He's on his fifth or sixth club now. And it's just like he seemed to get picked in rep football and for media and stuff like that because he's a likeable dude.
Yeah.
But, in the end, I don't think he was the superstar they made him out to be. He's obviously a NRL player. But, I always felt for Luke Brooks. So much pressure heaped on the kid and the only one who stayed. Cool.
Yeah, well, hopefully he has a good season, John. We'll wait and see on that one.
Maybe he can play finals finally. According to both of us, he will.
He'll break the drought, John.
Still on Manly, so Des Hasler's issued an apology. This was a tragedy, yeah? What was the...
There was an inquest into the tragic death of Manly Sea Eagles player Keith Titmus. He 20 years of age, John. He died of exertional heat stroke after a pre-season training session overseen by Hasler back in November 2020. The inquest heard that Titmus scored lowest in the team on a pre-season fitness test. Other players testifying told the inquest it was a hard session and ranked at 9 out of 10 in terms of intensity. Hasler was asked if he felt that, given the state of Titmus's fitness, the session would have been demanding. Hasler said he would have rated the intensity of the session as a 6 or 7 out of 10. Hasler said we wanted to make sure it wasn't too arduous. We don't want to place the players in a position where they can become injured. So it's one of those things, isn't it, John? That we got to say that they got to be careful, these teams, that they don't push these players too hard. It is only a game of football. We don't want to be seeing players losing their lives like that, John. Just a tragic story.
Yeah, it's a massive danger. Because it's not something. So, I was reading about it, and I've got it open again here. It wasn't classic heat stroke that people actually monitor for and understand. It was exertional heat stroke. So classic heat stroke is I walk outside and it's 40 degrees and I hang out in the hot weather and I don't rehydrate and stuff like that, and then like can have a heart attack because my body gets hurt too hot. Exertional heat stroke is caused solely by exercise. You can suffer from exertional heat stroke in like 0 degree weather. Actually, it just means you went too hard, and I'm really careful about it when I do. We can touch on the Bulldogs player suing the Bulldogs about he having to do 12 rounds of wrestling. Like I've done 3-hour sessions of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in hot weather, 8-minute rounds, 2 minutes off, this kind of thing. And I'm an old man, but I'm still really conscious of myself and everybody in the room not going too hard and making sure people take rests when they have to and stuff like that, because it is solely comes down to like you do too much and your body builds up heat and you can pass away. Once it deteriorates to heat stroke, you can't do anything. Like your mates and stuff won't be able to do anything. You need actual like trained professionals. They need to be in hospital straight away. So it's a tragedy. And I don't like that thing of like giving a rating out of 10 in difficulty as well, because everyone's going to give a different one.
Yeah.
So it's just an absolute tragedy, and feels for the family, of course.
Yeah, Hasler told the inquest there was an inherent tension between players wanting to push themselves and impress coaches and coaches wanting to restrain them to avoid injury. I found this interesting, John. The council assisting also highlighted an email from a former club medical officer, Luke Inman, to the ex-head of sports science, Mark Boots, warning about heat monitoring at training in 2019. And he said, and I quote in the email, "You are leaving yourself open to litigation from a player if they suffer heat stress or at worst dies."
Oh. They wear the GPS things, right? They all wear them at training, and I don't know if those things monitor temperature. I know they cost heaps of money and it's a massive investment, and they get heaps of like data. You would hope that it monitors temperature as well. Does my Apple Watch monitor my temperature? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
It constantly tells me I have a low heart rate. I'm supposed to go get it checked out. These things
Is that what it tells you?
Yeah, all the time. It's like
Right.
it actually tells me like your heart rate is low and it's been low for too long and you need to go get yourself checked. It constantly tells me that, like every couple of days. So yeah, like if an Apple Watch can tell me things like that, and they have those really expensive GPS trackers that go on their back in their little sports bra thingy, surely it tells you like, this guy's too hot. I don't know though. Like they keep that stuff really closely guarded. Yeah,
it's a real warning for clubs, though, isn't it, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
They got to be careful, especially pre-season training in this sort of heat. I think this summer it's been the hottest summer in Australia for a number of years. I think we had a few summers where it wasn't that hot. I think this summer it has climbed up again and been very hot. So
yeah, definitely.
Players doing pre-season training in this heat, these clubs have got to be careful.
And I deal with a lot of he was 20 years old, right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, as I said, it wasn't a hot day as well. It got to 25, which is pretty freaking hot. But 20-year-olds, I deal with a lot with 20-year-old new, fresh to the gym and stuff like that, and they want to go over what they should because they want to prove themselves, like they have something to prove, especially against an old man like me, And so, like, often I'll have to be like, dude, calm down, just slow down. You're wearing yourself out, like that kind of thing. And it is something you have to monitor. Obviously, like at my jiu-jitsu gym, we don't have this technology. We don't have the sports bra with the thing in it. And like I said, I don't know if they monitor temperature, but it's something that clubs should pay attention to. Temperature outside, temperature of the people. There's always danger. I've seen some pretty catastrophic injuries at jiu-jitsu, and none of them were caused by heat or overexertion. They were caused by people not knowing correct technique.
It just goes to show it happens to a 20-year-old, so it could happen to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's happening to a 20-year-old.
You have to, really have to monitor yourself. So that's unfortunate, and I hope that can all get resolved, and they may put in some things to prevent it from ever happening again.
Yes, absolutely.
And so on to the All-Stars game. I didn't even know the All-Stars game was on. Okay. The reason I found out the All-Stars game was almost because this news article came out that Campbell Graham has to have sternum surgery and could miss the next 6 months. And also Cody Walker has been ruled out of the All-Stars game. I was like, All-Stars game's on?
Yeah. It gave you a bit of a reminder, John.
But it's on Friday.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So Cody Walker, he was meant to take part in the game on Friday, John, before getting on a flight to Vegas for the NRL season opener. But, he suffered a calf strain in the lead up to the clash. Walker, he was going to captain the Indigenous team in that game, John. He's going to miss out. So he could miss anywhere from 1 to 6 weeks, depending on how bad the strain sets him back. That had obviously put him in doubt for that Vegas opener against Manly on March 3. And I mean, that may not sound too bad for the Rabbitohs. I'll tell you what is bad. Campbell Graham's been ruled out for 6 months, John.
6 months.
Yes. Failed to recover from a long-term sternum injury. So the clubs announced back on Thursday, just after our podcast, that Graham would have surgery and could miss up to 6 months. They think he'll be available again for the end of the regular season. He'd already undergone a shoulder procedure in the off-season, John. Hadn't taken part in contact training ahead of round 1, but now he's going to face a lengthy period on the sidelines. Hopefully he'll be back in time for the finals if they get there, John. I mean, he's played for Australia, John. This is a huge blow for the Rabbitohs.
It is, definitely is. I still think they can make the 8, though. I wish it would go back to how the All-Stars was when it first started. Like, Preston Campbell was the architect behind it. It was really awesome. Whereas, like, I actually have an Indigenous All-Stars jersey because I supported the Indigenous All-Stars when it first started. Because if you remember, the way it worked was fans voted on who would be in the All-Stars team, right? And I think Sam Burgess played and stuff like that. So the way I saw it was Australia, non-Indigenous Australians, and the rest of the world versus pure Australians. So I went for the Indigenous All-Stars. I wasn't going to support a British team, a team featuring English players. But it was really engaging and really cool, and like it was really pumped up and psyched, and it was at Gold Coast Stadium. And then I don't know, like over the years and during COVID and stuff, it's just kind of tapered out. And yeah, it's cool. Like it's Indigenous All-Stars versus the Maori All-Stars. That's all cool. But that's like, it's a little bit more niche than opening it up to everyone. Because that was the cool thing. Like you would get to see players in that NRL All-Stars team that you would never, ever, ever get to see play together. You would get to see Sam Burgess play with a Queensland player that he's never going to play with on the same side. And I remember, the first one had like Jonathan Thurston at 7, and I think Scott Prince or Jamie Soward. I can't 100% remember. There was no, it was at Gold Coast when it first opened, and it was like pumping, and Wendell Saylor was in it, and I remember he afterwards they asked him because it was he had retired the previous year, and on Footy Show something they asked him what he'd been doing. He said, I led the Indigenous boys to a victory over the All-Stars, scored a try, and it was really cool. But now it's like it's so unimpressive that I forgot that it was on.
Yeah, I think, John, that this is a game where if you're not going to have the best players playing in it, then just don't have it at all.
Yeah.
I think this is the problem. Clubs are too, clubs are, and I get where the clubs are coming from. They're the ones paying huge money for these players. They don't want to risk them getting injured in this game before the season started. So I get where they're coming from. And look, I'm not doubting Cody Walker's claims of having an injury, John, but obviously there may have been instances where clubs have embellished the injury of certain players to make sure they get ruled out of the game just so they're ready to go for their club for round 1.
There was always the risk with the All-Stars, but never really the risk with the Indigenous teams because all of those guys.
Yeah, because they wanted to be.
Yeah. Matt Cooper is the most famous one in this kind of example. He was the one that was injured like 3 or 4 times in City Country and then played 2 days later for the track, like every year. But they these kind of things are cool as showcases. As you used to get fan engagement, and the NRL should impose penalties for players that are withdrawn through injury, but then play, like, trials are on. There's a $100,000 cash prize for the preseason challenge is about to start. It's like there's a whole thing about it. It started last year. I totally forgot it was like there was the challenge. I remember there's trials, but it's like every game is the same now. They can field up to 28 players, unlimited interchange. There's incentive to play and win. Sea Eagles won it last year. And so these teams are going to want that $100,000. And so was it Cody Walker you said ruled out, right? Yeah. If he plays in the Rabbitohs preseason challenge, the NRL should go, hey, like, what's the go there? As I said, I doubt anybody in Māori and Indigenous All-Stars would be pulling out unless they had to. But when it was the All-Stars, like the NRL All-Stars, there was cases I remember of that kind of thing. And if a player is pulled out and then 2 days later is featuring in the trial game to win $100,000, that's the kind of thing where the NRL should be going like, no, if you pull out of the All-Stars, you don't get to play on the weekend, Like, no. You're out. You're out. You're out or you're in. Like, that's it.
I guess clubs would then turn around and go, well, we're the ones paying them there,
They get paid to appear in the All-Stars matches and stuff as well.
Yeah. But the clubs don't care about that, do they?
No, I'm sure the players do, though. But, I know the clubs will have tantrums and stuff like that, but players want to play rep football. And one of the things they get that some coaches we'll talk about is the advantages the players get by being around rep teams. They come back from rep teams better. Of course, they can also come back worse if they get smashed. That's always that risk. But yeah, I miss the original All-Stars. Anyway, we're coming up to opening round in America. Russell Crowe has been brought on board to explain rugby league to Americans. He's got the voice for it.
Yeah, so he's lent his voice to a 5-minute NRL promotional explaining the rules of rugby league in a bid to attract US audience to the historic doubleheader in Las Vegas.
No forward passes.
Yeah, you've heard it, haven't you? Yeah. Of course, Crowe's expected to attend the game, John. You'd hope so.
South Sydney, for sure.
You'd hope he'd be there. You'd hope he'd be the first one through the gates. So he explains the sport, obviously, as if he's talking to those more familiar with American football. Makes sense. They're American ads. So Crowe said, and I quote in the ad, "Rugby league is football, but maybe not as you know it. No helmets, no pads, no timeouts. National Rugby League is unleashed for the very first time in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas." In a second video, Crowe describes the sport as, and I quote, "arguably the fastest, most aggressive football game that exists." As I said, John, given how boring the Super Bowl was yesterday, I would hope that the Americans would lap up the NRL. It's a much better game.
The ad is awesome.
Arguably the most aggressive.
He's got the voice for it. He really should just do voiceover work, seriously. It's great. It's a great ad. It's a great video. I love it. Of course, it's like you said, it's not targeted to me, but I really loved it. Like it's got they actually use like big hits, amazing tries, like all the footage, and it's got Rusty. I hope it attracts people there. My understanding is they've still only sold like 22,000 tickets or something like that. But in America, when they don't sell tickets, they give tickets away. Because the way they see it is a packed stadium makes more money than an empty one. So
makes sense.
Even if they don't sell tickets, they give them away. But everyone should jump on and watch the video. It's awesome.
Yeah. At first, I sort of thought, well, the NRL are wasting their time with this. But now that I've seen had a good look yesterday, how bad American football is, I now have a new outlook on it now, John. I now go for your life, NRL. You got a better. It's a far better game than American football. So do your best. Good luck with it. Have Russell Crowe on your ads and go for gold.
Yeah, like I said, they'll play 2 games in the time it takes to finish one 15-minute quarter.
Yeah, Crowe's not the only star power that they've got promoting this game, John. NFL superstar Jordan Mailata's in Vegas as well. As an ambassador for the NRL. Mailata caught up with The Rock.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, showing him some NRL highlights, asking for his opinion on a rugby league ball. Also, the NRL are reportedly in talks with Travis Kelce and his brother, Jason, who also plays in the NFL. They want them to attend the doubleheader. Of course, Travis Kelce is dating the one and only Taylor Swift, John.
She's on tour right now. She had to fly in from Tokyo to LA, then off to Vegas in her private jet yesterday to make the Super Bowl.
Imagine if by extension you could get Taylor Swift promoting the NRL.
She had to go,
I dream on.
I think she had to go back to Japan or something to finish her tour.
Yeah. I think she's coming to Australia soon. John.
Yeah. It's I think the tour starts in 1.5 weeks. If anyone wants to give me some tickets, my daughter would love to go. I'll give you a shout out on the podcast.
Sounds like a good deal for you, John.
They're so hard to get.
Yes.
And then onwards and upwards, or actually downwards onto social media, really, Jerome Luai has talked about the death threats he got on Coward Media after announcing he had moved on from the Panthers.
Yeah, John, he's opened up in a Panthers premiership documentary, and his fiancée was on it talking about the death threats and abuse often levelled at the couple. At Jerome Luai, I should say. So yeah, this just isn't on, John. This is just madness. Luai's fiancée said, "I'm glad our kids don't know how to read, so that they don't have to read this vitriol." You might remember, John, after that Origin loss in Game 2 last year, Luai wrote on Instagram, "Chill, all you idiots, have work tomorrow morning." That's no way to handle this, John. But that having been said, that doesn't mean that he deserves this sort of ridiculous abuse that he's been copying.
I have done Instagram and stuff posts before about this because obviously I'm a massive sports fan and I also am active on social media and I have a background in working in social media as well. Every single person who anonymously sends a famous person death threats is a coward. They are 100% a coward. Yeah. They're weak and I would love to see them confronted in real life by the person they send these threats to. You know, some television show in America does this really funny thing. It's hilarious where they walk up to people on the street and say, like, you know, what do you think about Nate Diaz versus this person? You know, UFC fighter Nate Diaz, and then they find people who will talk crap about Nate Diaz, all right? And then Nate Diaz will come out of a door from behind him and stand behind him until they notice he's there. Every single one of them backtracks.
Yeah.
Like, it's to say, like, that is a comedic thingy. Then none of those people are coming and going, "Oh, put Nate Diaz in front of me and I'll murder him," and stuff like that. They're just saying, like, "Oh, you know, he's not that good of a fighter," and stuff like that. He's not. He's terrible. Bring it on, Nate Diaz. He'd smash me. Nate Diaz is crazy, man. But, yeah, like, all these people, if anybody was standing in front of them, they would never, ever say anything negative. Guarantee you 100% of these people, you put Jerome Luai in front of him and they'll like, want a photo with him and they'll be posting publicly on social media on their story. "Met Jerome today. He's a great guy, blah, blah, blah." Cowards and weak-willed human beings, and they should be banned from the internet.
Yeah, but like you said, John, proof of ID to start a social media account.
I often make jokes about how there should be a license to be on the internet. When I want to drive a car, I have to get somebody to supervise me for 250 hours, and then I get a test to go to my P's. Yeah. I'm restricted from driving at night with passengers and things like that if I'm young. It's how the internet should be. Your mum should have to sit behind you for 250 hours and see what you do on the internet. And let's see how you go. Because if I guarantee you, like, people talk crap to us. I always say, man, come down to my gym. And not like a threat of violence. Come down to my gym. I train at my BJJ. I'm all over the internet. You can find my real name. That's at the Half Guard Prince. Come down to my gym. Say to me, we can have some rolls and we'll see, like, who's a tough guy. No one ever will. Some dudes in jiu-jitsu who I mock, and say, come down to my gym. They say, come down to my gym. I go to their gym and they bash me. Because they know that, like, you know, I will never ever in my life private message someone idiot things, man.
I love how you've said to the people giving it to us, come down to my gym.
We'll just have some rolls, man. Like, it's fun. I do a thing where I put people in adult timeout when they're too aggressive. I hold them still so they can't move. But, like, it's the same. Like, all those people, no one will ever take me up. I have received, like, death threats and stuff like that on social media.
Really?
Personally, yeah.
Jesus.
And I have said to those people, bro, come down to the gym. There was once at a Dragons game once, actually, many years ago, and I disagreed with somebody on a Facebook group about something to do with Dragons. I can't even remember what. And he said, yeah, I've checked your post history. I know where you sit at Wynn Stadium. I'll see you there on Sunday. And I went because I knew it's an internet coward.
Yeah, he's not going to be there.
Not going to be there. Sat there. Nothing happened. Of course, nothing happened. But like, it just goes to show. Like I said, I've received these death threats. My response is always, dude, come down to my gym. Some of the people I know who have threatened me and things like that on the internet, and I've walked up to them at competitions and went, how you going? And of course, they straight away backtrack. Yeah. That's how I know. Like, these cowards that send Jerome Luai death threats, they'll all be the same. If they, like, you know, they'll sign up an anonymous fake account and they'll send him a death threat and say, I'm going to kill you. Jerome Luai walked up next to him. They're just cowards.
Because if they weren't cowards, they wouldn't be hiding behind internet anonymity to you know, make these comments they make. They would be, if they weren't cowards, they would be going to your gym and saying it to your face.
Exactly.
And having a wrestle with you.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
John, I think we're in agreement. We've talked about it before. Overall, social media has been a detriment to society, and society was better off without social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The ability to add content to the internet with ease was a breakdown of the internet. I always tell people, like, I have kids, you know, and like, young people will tell me things like, they'll say things to me like, you know, I know more because when you were young, you didn't have so much access to the internet. But I have to explain to them, dude, I was there when the internet, like, first started. When I was young, I charged like $40,000 to make a basic website because to put something on the internet was hard.
Yeah.
And you had to pay people $40,000 to get like a 3-page website.
Yeah.
I can have a 3-page website up in 15 minutes now with AI-generated content for everything, talking crap about anyone. And that is the problem. Back in the olden days, like 20 years ago, when I searched for something on the internet, you knew without a doubt it was true because someone had to pay tens of thousands of dollars to put it there. Now it's free and easy. Yeah. It was tens of thousands of dollars and an extended period of time. We didn't have no, like, drag and drop, what you see is what you get editors. I had to, like, open bracket, HTML, close bracket in a notepad, you know? Like, so, yeah, the internet is broken thanks to the ease of use to put stuff on. And you should have to have a license to prove your identity to put stuff on it.
Facebook was great for about a year, but it's been around for 20, and I reckon the last 19 of it's been rubbish.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be good, but now it's just a breeding ground for narcissists and cowards.
Yeah, exactly.
To either boast or, you know, make these cowardly threats to people.
It's just so, like I've talked about it before, it's so easy to get an account up and running so quickly with a fake email address, temporary email address, temporary phone number. Anyway, cowards, go say it to Jerome Luai's face and see what happens to you.
Yeah, that
because he's a big lad. Like, doesn't matter how small they look on their field, they're all big lads.
Yeah. Okay. We know how many of them would be prepared to do that, John.
It's a total of 0%.
Yes.
So yeah, that'll do that. And and more than bad news, unfortunately for David Morrow, he's been diagnosed with brain cancer.
Yeah, very sad news, John. It's been announced he'll step down from on-air duties after a recent brain cancer diagnosis. Yeah, it's very sad news, John. It's going to take time away from broadcasting and commentary duties to focus on cancer treatment and spend time with his loved ones. Morrow's covered 8 Olympic Games and 6 Commonwealth Games across a very good 52-year career, John. He started at 2GB in 2015. I guess probably more of us remember him for his time at ABC Radio when he
definitely.
was on. When I was a kid, I would always I'd listen to him and Warren Ryan after a game, and you'd get great analysis of the game, John. You wouldn't get a better sort of half-hour review of a game than you would from David Morrow and Warren Ryan. And yeah, David Morrow, for me, was part of my childhood growing up, John. I love listening to him on ABC Radio. That was in the days where, you'd only get maybe 1 or 2 games on TV, John. You certainly didn't have all the games of the weekend on TV. And so, and even the ones that were on TV were on delay. So a lot of the time you would rely on the radio and listen to the radio. And I'd love listening to David Morrow. He was inducted into the Sydney Cricket Ground Media Hall of Honour in 2023. He's commenced radiotherapy and chemotherapy, John, and we wish him all the best,
Absolutely.
John, in his battle against this terrible disease.
Absolute legend of Australian sport.
Yes.
And we hope him and his family are okay.
Yeah.
This last thing on Rugby League, because it wouldn't be an off season without 2 Rugby League players hitting each other.
Oh, yes.
So it was like yesterday, the day before, video was released on the internet of Adam Reynolds and Pat Carrigan getting into a bit of argy-bargy. One of their shirts got ripped. It's currently being investigated by the NRL Integrity Unit and the Broncos. So that's the captain and the vice captain having a bit of a fight.
Not ideal, John.
Especially like 2 weeks out from the Big Vegas thing, and visa issues, off-field behaviour issues for visa issues, all that kind of stuff. But like, the video is nothing. My takeaway from it was every single rugby league player ever should never hang out with anyone that they don't know, because if they hang out with anyone that they don't explicitly 100% know a million percent and trust, if they do anything. Someone's going to take a mobile phone video of them and put it on the internet. Doesn't matter what they could take it. It's 4 seconds as well. You don't know what. And more footage was released and stuff afterwards before, blah, blah. Apparently there was like a bit of a stacks on play around bit that got a bit too much. And Adam Reynolds was trying to get Pat Carrigan in a taxi to get him home or something.
So, where were they when this happened?
Out.
So they were out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like having a few beers, whatever. But yeah, like.
So you've seen the video and there wasn't. To be honest, I missed the story, John. You've seen the video and there wasn't much in it.
No. One of them, their shirts got ripped. Like that's the thing, and like it's just seriously like the takeaway shouldn't be that they can't go out and stuff like that. But unfortunately, some people will suggest that the takeaway should be like don't associate it all with anybody that you don't 1,000,000% trust because of the mobile phones. Because all that's going to happen is there anything you do or say anything out of context that appears on a mobile phone, they can cut it and stuff to make it look worse no matter what.
Yeah.
And I don't think there should be anything to it. Like it's not bringing the game into disrepute. It's
I'm
nothing.
sure they'll get over it. They'll move on from it, John. It sounds like from what you're saying, it's a non-story.
Yeah, but it's just
not
because
ideal.
it was in public and put all over the internet.
Yeah.
On X.
It's probably not something the Broncos would want out there, but they'll get over it. They'll move on from it, John.
Yeah, that's Rugby League for the week. Rugby League will blow up more and more as we get closer and closer to the season. 15th, so Thursday. Yep, the 15th is the pre-season challenge. Kicks off with the Bulldogs, and we'll have some discussion on it later in the week.
Belmore, John. I might head down there.
Oh, sweet. I used to live around the corner from there. Actually on the same street, on Sharp Street, and it was hectic on the days where there's a game at Belmore.
Yeah, and then the following week, there's that one on Thursday, and then the following week, I think on the Friday, there's a double header. I think it's the Roosters, Rabbitohs, and then Bulldogs, Sharks, I think.
Cool.
So, yeah, a couple of pre-season games at Belmore, John. I think I might head down there.
On to cricket. We can just touch on cricket quickly. Australia played the West Indies. They won the end. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Something happened.
So Australia's taken a 2-0 lead in the 3-game series, John. They won the games on Friday and Sunday. There's another game. We're recording on Tuesday morning. There's another game 3 is in Perth tonight, Tuesday night. Yeah, but we don't care a whole lot about it, John. But there was an interesting incident in the game on Sunday night, John. Australia were denied a run out. The West Indies batsman was run out, but Australia were denied the run out because the umpire deemed that no one had appealed.
What?
So it was interesting.
So because no one went, ah!
Yeah, so umpire Jared Abood deemed that no one had appealed. Alzari Joseph hit a ball straight to Mitch Marsh at extra cover and ran. Mitch Marsh, who's captaining Australia in this meaningless series, John, threw the ball to Spencer Johnson at the non-striker's end to whip the bails off. Joseph was shown to be well short of his ground, but Abood called for play to continue because none of the Australians actually appealed.
Well, that's against the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, what the Australian behaviour is against the spirit of the game. Because when I watch cricket, I see them like appeal for out every single ball, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer Johnson appeared to think Joseph wasn't out. None of the Australians could be heard appealing on the TV broadcast. The umpire looked around a number of times for an appeal, but when he didn't see or hear one, he called for play to continue, and he didn't send the decision to the third umpire.
God.
The Aussie players were furious, John. Mitch Marsh protested with Abood. Tim David could be heard telling the umpire he did appeal and then said, "This is a joke." And then Abood told the players to calm down. So there's two parts of the law book that sort of apply here, John. The first one is Rule 31.1 that sort of leans in the umpire's favour. The quote from the rule book is, "Neither umpire shall give a batter out even though he or she may be out under the laws unless appealed to by a fielder. This shall not debar a batter who is out under any of the laws from leaving the wicket without an appeal having been made. But, however, 31.3, I think this is where the umpire is wrong, John. It says, the rule states, for an appeal to be valid, it must be made before the bowler begins his or her run-up, or if there is no run-up, her bowling action to deliver the next ball, and before time has been called. The call of over does not invalidate an appeal made prior to the start of the following over, provided time has not been called. Under the rule in question, time refers to the end of a session of play, so that's not really in play here, John. That means the Aussies should have been allowed to appeal any time before the next ball was bowled, and this confrontation between the Aussie players and the umpire occurred before the next ball was bowled, John. So the umpire should have then gone, right, well, clearly you're appealing now, so we give the batsman out. It only had to happen before the next ball was bowled. So that's where the umpire's wrong, John.
That's the most bizarre rule in the history of the world of all sport.
He should have given it out, John.
So for a batter to be out, the bails have to come off, and someone on the opposing team has to appeal for it to be out.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Like, if you don't appeal for it to be out before the next ball, then it can't be given out by the umpire?
Yeah, it's cricket, John.
It's the spirit of the game, man.
Cricket's a curious game.
Spirit of the game.
Cricket's a funny game. Yeah, but I think that's the point in all of it, John. The point is
they
you
appealed.
only have to appeal before the bowler.
How do they define appeal?
Is it a runner?
Is it when they go, ah, or when someone goes, I think that's out, mate?
I would have thought if players are gathering around you arguing that it should be out, I would have thought that's an appeal, John.
No, you've got to fully put your arms up in the air and scream, apparently.
And that's clearly happened before the bowler ran into bowler.
Spirit of the game.
So,
but Glenn Maxwell did... I read this. He hit a record-breaking century, yeah?
120 from just 55 balls at Adelaide Oval. It's the fastest century in a T20 international on Australian soil.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, and he holds now 3 of the top 5 or something.
And he scored 120 off 55, but got to 100 off just 50, John.
Yeah.
So
on your big show.
8 sixes and 12 fours. Propelled Australia to 4 for 241 and a 34-run victory. His 50-ball century broke Riley Rosso's previous record on Australian soil after the South African notched a 52-ball ton against Bangladesh in Sydney at the World Cup in 2022. Maxwell jointly holds the overall record of 47 balls with Aaron Finch and Josh Inglis for fastest T20I century anywhere around the world. The 35-year-old also equalled Rohit Sharma's record for most centuries in T20 internationals with 5. So there you go.
Okay. That's about all that's happened in cricket. I don't know what else is going to happen in cricket next week or in the next episode.
Yeah, I think we're getting... I mean, this game on tonight will be the last game of the Australian International Summer, and then they go to New Zealand and play that 2020 International Series, and then those 2 tests, John. But, we are... Fair to say, we are getting over the cricket, John. We are holding out for the footy season to start.
Nothing's happened in AFL, or the AFL has quashed everything that's happened in AFL for the week.
You look up AFL stories and there's just nothing there,
It's just
John,
news organisations are just giving, like I said a few weeks ago, they're creating news, running polls. Who do you think will make the 8? Who do you think will miss the 8?
Yeah, outside of the season itself and the trade period and the draft, there's not a lot
Nothing
of news
seems to happen with
They
AFL.
squash any off-field dramas they have, and that's about it.
In combat sports, we still don't have a UFC 300 main event, but Alexander Volkanovski will defend his title on Sunday, so do a quick preview of that on Thursday on our next episode. On to other sports.
Yeah, we got a bit.
Taylor Swift won.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift's Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, won back-to-back
Yes.
sports. What are they called? Super Bowls?
Super Bowls, yeah. So, McCole Hardman scored that winning touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs in that overtime period. So there you go, John. Patrick Mahomes set it up for Hardman.
Yep.
So well done to the Chiefs.
That's the third Super Bowl ring for Mahomes and Kelce. People are already trying to say that Mahomes is now the GOAT over Tom Brady, but guys, Tom Brady has 7. Across multiple teams as well.
Just the 5th quarterback in NFL history to win at least 3 Super Bowls, joining, as you said, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, and Troy Aikman.
Yep.
It was the Chiefs. Winning back-to-back Super Bowls. The last team to go back-to-back was the Patriots in 2003.
Tom Brady's Patriots.
Yes. If the Chiefs want a three-peat, they'll have to make history. No team has ever returned to the Super Bowl the following year after going back-to-back. So there you go. We've talked about Mahomes. The coach, Andy Reid. He now has 3 Super Bowl wins, makes him just the 5th coach in NFL history to hit that number. Reid joins Bill Belichick, Chuck Noll, Joe Gibbs, and Bill Walsh. Safe to say Reid will be a Hall of Famer whenever he decides to retire, John. So well done to Andy Reid there.
Well, my review of the Super Bowl was, my God, I have never watched a more boring sporting event in the history of my life, and I have watched like a day of golf once while hungover. Okay, honestly, playing golf, watching it, no, but man alive, I cannot believe how slow and long it is. It is just beyond ridiculous. How many breaks they have, how many stoppages in play. It's like every 15-minute quarter is 3 hours long. I couldn't even watch all of it. That's my review. It was boring, and man alive, Americans need to understand, if you want your game to be that long, extend the game. Yeah,
but I know they're not going to, unfortunately a lot of them are just not going to take any notice of this NRL doubleheader in Las Vegas in a few weeks' time, John, but they really should.
Yeah, 100%.
Seriously, open your eyes, Americans. There is a better game out there, and it's called Rugby League. That Super Bowl was just atrociously boring yesterday, John. You'd see one play would go for about 10 seconds, and then there'd be another 5-minute break. You'd have more ads. You'd come back from the 5-minute ad break. You'd see another play, then there'd be another 5-minute ad break. It's no wonder people get so interested in the commercials and the halftime entertainment, John. It's a lot more entertaining than the actual game.
It kept flashing to all these people in the crowd. I didn't know who any of them were.
Taylor Swift.
Well, Taylor Swift a lot. And the people next to her, I was supposed to know who they were as well. I think Ryan Reynolds' wife was one of them.
Blake Lively was there.
I think she was with Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But then it flashed to these other people. I have no idea who they are. And the fact, I know from years of music, the American Billboards is very different to the Australian Top 40. And there's a bunch of stuff on American Billboards and stuff that you just, Australians just never actually hear, to be honest. So I'm sure some of those people were just famous in America and not famous in Australia. But the fact that they have to just constantly flash to the people in the crowd kind of shows how boring the game was.
It's the most boring. American football is the most boring sport in the world, John.
I just can't understand.
Soccer is more entertaining than American football.
Well, more happens in soccer.
Rugby union is more entertaining than American
I
football.
always say soccer is a game of almosts, like the way people get really excited for things almost happening. But more happens in a shorter period of time in soccer than it does in American football. I was at this event and I was there with one of the guys from the office. He messaged me. He said, "Do you want to leave after third quarter?" I said, "Yeah, it's 20 seconds to go. We'll be here for another 3 hours." Like, it's just insane. There was a whole bunch of happenings in there, obviously, because of the Taylor Swift's Kansas City Chiefs. I saw this Travis Kelce was sparking up at his coach, screaming at him and pushing him when they made a fumble. It was, he just looked like an idiot.
Yeah, look, that's no way to talk to the coach, John. Just because you're dating Taylor Swift, I don't care if you're dating Taylor Swift. I don't care that your team won. You don't talk to the coach like that. That sort of, I coach kids sport, John. That sort of thing filters down to the juniors. They see Travis Kelce speaking to his coach like that, then they think it's okay to speak to their coach like that if they have sport on the weekend or after school. That's just ridiculous. I saw that, John, and I thought, well, Travis Kelce is just an absolute drop kick.
Yeah.
You can't speak to the coach like that.
And he pushed him, and
you are.
It's just.
And what annoys me is because he's won the game, that just gets overshadowed. So it's almost as if they go, "Oh, you won, so it's okay. You can carry on however you want." I hate that, John. I looked at that and went,
yeah, he looks like an idiot.
This bloke's just a tool. And I would have thought Taylor Swift could do better, John.
The sentiment when it was on the TV in the pub was everybody I was surrounded by thought he looked like an idiot. It's just a drop kick. Like, just behave, man.
Coach, he's 65 years old, John. Yeah. He's not young. And I know it doesn't really matter the age of the coach. The point is you don't speak to the coach like that.
And pushed him.
Yeah,
just calm down.
You know what? If someone had spoken to Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, used to say that I didn't care who the player was, I didn't care how high profile the player was. If you don't buy into our team here, we get rid of you. Yeah. We let you go. If he had spoken to Sir Alex Ferguson like that, Sir Alex Ferguson would be drawing up the paperwork today to release him and get rid of him and never to be seen again.
We would have dropped him from the team on this. We're not letting him play again for the rest of the game. It's just ridiculous.
Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't have cared about the profile of Travis Kelce. He would have just said, "Nope, you're gone. You don't speak to me like that."
Well, Travis Kelce, I know, he's only famous because he dates Taylor Swift. And they got 20%. The Super Bowl got 20% of viewers who said that they cheered for the Kansas City Chiefs because of Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift made American football popular. It's the only reason.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? Survey was done during and after the Super Bowl by Numerator. Yeah, quite incredible, wasn't it, John? 20% of viewers said they were going for the Chiefs because of the relationship between Swift and Kelce. The poll surveyed nearly 800 US adults 18 or older after the Chiefs won 25-22 in overtime. A couple of more interesting numbers out of the survey, John. 29% said the best commercial was from Dunkin'. I think it's Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, they said the best commercial was from Dunkin' Donuts with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Tom Brady and Jennifer Lopez, followed by the Budweiser Clydesdales ad, 22%, M&M's with Dan Marino and Scarlett Johansson, 15%, BMW with Christopher Walken and Usher, 13%, and State Farm with Arnold Schwarzenegger, 13%. As for the least favourite Super Bowl commercials, Apartments.com with Jeff Goldblum took first with 15%, followed by Bud Light with Peyton Manning and Post Malone, 11%, Booking.com with Tina Fey, 11%, Temu, I don't know who Temu is, John, 9%, and
Temu
Body
is
Armour,
like
9%.
A cheap and nasty online Wish type website.
Right, okay. So there you go, John. As I said, I get why they talk so much about the ads because the game's so terribly boring, John.
I think everyone should jump on the internet and watch the Kanye West commercial that only aired during CBS, regional CBS station. It cost him $7 million.
Oh, wow.
It's 30 seconds long. It's him like in his car on his mobile phone talking about how he spent $7 million on this ad and can't afford the production. It's great. It's for his Yeezy line. It's so good. That's definitely my number one pick for the commercial of the day. It is hilarious. Like, it's so dodgy. And all the internet like responds like, is this real? Like, but it was. He paid $7 million for it. It's great. But, you know, our other friend of the show, Taylor Swift, obviously being one of our friends of the show, and our other friend of the show, Donald Trump, my man, Donald Trump,
Yes.
king of the world.
Yes.
I saw that he had, like, put Taylor and Travis Kelce on blast.
Yeah, he's given it to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift in a rant on social media. Yeah, it's hard not to be with him on that one. He's branded Travis Kelce as a liberal, and he's branded Taylor Swift as disloyal, John. Trump took the credit for the meteoric success of Swift's ongoing Eras tour and recent Album of the Year Grammy win, claiming he, the former president, was actually the man who made her so much money. He said, and I quote, "I signed and was responsible for the Music Modernisation Act for Taylor Swift and all other musical artists." Trump said on Truth Social, he said, "Joe Biden didn't do anything for Taylor and never will." The Music Modernisation Act was passed in 2018, modernised copyright laws to give artists more protections in the era of digital music distribution, John. He went on to say there's no way she could endorse crooked Joe Biden, the worst and most corrupt president in the history of our country, and be disloyal to the man who made her so much money. And he says that, besides that, I like her boyfriend Travis, even though he may be a liberal and probably can't stand me.
Yeah. So it's true. He did sign that Music Modernisation Act into law. So that was because that was the whole thing about how Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, all of those were basically taking way more money than they ever had from artists, and because the legislation didn't include streaming, and he changed it to include streaming. So all musicians started making more money. And there was a whole thing where, like, I think it was Taylor Swift and Tool, the band, they weren't on any streaming platforms because of it, because of the bad way that they were just like, we're just not going to put it on there because we want to make way less money that way. And then when Donald Trump signed the MMA, then they went on there because they would actually make money. And she's a billionaire. But, you know, Taylor Swift should stay out of politics, and so should Travis Kelce. He's the Pfizer spokesperson as well for the COVID vaccination. He got paid something like $10 million to promote them. But Donald Trump supports vaccinations, so Travis Kelce... Actually,
yeah, well, he said he liked Travis, John, even though Travis probably can't stand him, is what he said. So, of course, John, we had those PSYOP conspiracies.
It came true.
And now it's come true, John.
It came true. It's true. It was rigged. It was all rigged. I actually immediately saw on the internet people posting, "See, I told you it was rigged." Like, oh my God. Do you know how hard it is to rig it? There's like 50 players on a...
Yeah, there'd be a bit that would have to go into it, I would have thought, John.
Still on the Super Bowl, though, Jared Hayne, who famously played for the 49ers.
Yes, he did. Yes, so his former team were in the Super Bowl yesterday, John.
And he was denied access to watch the Super Bowl in jail. I can understand that. He's in jail, and they'd have to pay for an ESPN subscription.
Yeah, and they only get free-to-air TV in jail, and he had work commitments in jail, John, so... Yeah, certainly no sympathy from me that he couldn't watch the game. Committed a terrible crime and didn't deserve to watch the game, John.
Yeah, that's why he's in jail.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Certainly no arguments from me.
He's still got another appeal going for that as well. But, yeah, so that's it for the Super Bowl. Joe Biden's now going to get elected. On your Taylor, you won.
Well, at least that keeps the Super Bowl interesting, John. The game itself was not interesting.
I saw a great...
side stories are more interesting.
Saw a great meme. It was like, I don't know who Taylor Swift is and what team he plays for, but he sounds like a really fast guy named Taylor. Something to do with the Super Bowl. So I don't know if you saw this. This is great. It was the rumblings about it years ago, the enhanced games, because there's always been these memes about like, you know, people want to see just how hardcore athletes can go on steroids, and they should put one steroid. Like, there's memes about like in the Olympics, they should put one normal person and one guy on steroids, so you have a comparative. This is how normal people go. This is how enhanced people go, and in the middle. But Peter Thiel and Christian Engermeyer, both billionaires, and Balaji Srinivasan, I don't know who that guy is. I know who Peter Thiel and Christian Engermeyer are. They're funding the enhanced games now. So the way it's going to work is they're going to have Olympic events where all performance-enhancing drugs are legal, and then anybody who breaks the world record, which obviously won't be registered as a world record because they're enhanced, well, there's millions of dollars in prizes. So James Magnuson, the Aussie swimmer, he's been signed to appear in the swimming and been offered $1 million to break the 100-meter swimming record, and it's $1.5 million to beat Usain Bolt's sprinting record. I think it's hilarious. There should be some safeguards in place because performance-enhancing drugs can do bad things, but it's just such a funny thing to me. Like, they're gonna televise it and everything.
I mean, John, you know, I mean, it is honest, I guess. I mean, you know, they say the only difference between Hollywood actors and Olympic athletes is you know the actors are acting. But yeah, John, I don't like it at all.
I'm totally gonna watch the whole thing.
I think this is a real risk to the health of these athletes. You know, nobody's going to respect the medal winners in this.
Oh, event. Absolutely not.
But people who win, people are just going to go, "Oh, well done, you were the best at taking drugs." Yeah. You know, the winners are not going to be respected. They're not going to be able to attract any sort of sponsorships.
They've got sponsorships because there's two things, right? There's two types of performance-enhancing drugs. There's ones that are like legally legal, like not against the law, and there's ones that are banned by drug testing organizations. So there is a rule on the enhanced games. Your PEDs have to be legal. They can't be illegal. So you can't take illegally obtained anabolic steroids and things like that. So they'll get sponsored by the PED companies.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's the sponsors are kind of like.
Right. Yeah,
it's like a car crash. I will not be able to look away, honestly.
It's just... Do you know what I mean? You know what? We talk about the health effects. I mean, do you remember Flojo, the American runner who won 3 gold medals at the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games? Well, she died of a seizure at the age of 38, John, back in 1998. Not many fit athletes just drop dead of a seizure at the age of 38, John. There's obviously strong suspicions that the use of performance-enhancing drugs contributed to her death. So if athletes who go in this die because of the performance-enhancing drugs they take, well, the founders of this event are going to have blood on their hands, John. Blood on their hands.
That's why they have to do it. Like, if they have medical safeguards in place. One of the things that... Bruce Lee, actually, one of the theories about him was that he was on steroids, and that's why he dropped dead, actually. It's always been like whispered about that.
I just feel like, I mean, we're doing a sports podcast here, John. I feel like I have to speak out against it because I don't want what happened to Flojo to happen to anybody else.
Who else is the other one? There's a whole bunch. The weightlifting will be the worst. I'm telling you right now, the weightlifting. So the weightlifting world record for deadlift or something is like 400 kilos or something ridiculous like that. And then again, there's millions of dollars on offer for anyone who can do it. Weightlifting not as a professional sport, but somewhat as a professional sport, is already full of performance-enhancing drugs. And, you know, none of the records will hold. None of the records will become official. But I honestly, man, I just think it's so funny and I can't look away. It's like a car crash that I won't be able to look away from. I'm really curious.
You'll watch it, but you'll have no respect for whoever.
Oh, absolutely none at all. Like, none. like all sports, whenever someone gets pinged, like Lance Armstrong, right, for performance-enhancing drugs, straight away, it's like he won, but it was on PEDs. Like there's never he won. He won, but he was on PEDs. Like nobody thinks you actually won.
No.
The only sport that I know of that people who say like, oh, he won, but he was on PEDs as some kind of excuse is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because PEDs are legal in most of Jiu-Jitsu, right? And so people will try to say like the only reason Gordon Ryan is the greatest no-gi grappler in the world is because he's on PEDs, but everybody is. Like every one of them, they're all not normal humans. You watch the guy Reacher, what's his name, Alan Richardson, who plays Reacher. He's been actually open about his use of PEDs to achieve the Reacher physique, because when he was signed on to play Reacher, he was what did he say? It was 220 pounds, which is like 100 kilos muscle. The guy's always been super muscly. But Reacher is 6'5" and 250 pounds of pure muscle. So they told him he actually has to put on 30 pounds. And he built a gym in his house. It was during COVID and stuff. And he went natural to 250 pounds. Then he rocked up to set and was just like exhausted and couldn't act and stuff. They were like, physique's perfect, but you have no thing. And so then guys on the set, the trainers and the stuntmen said, the reason you're so exhausted is because you've used all your testosterone and like there's all this other stuff to it and stuff. So you need to take these actual like supplements that are technically performance enhancing drugs. So taking testosterone is a performance enhancing drug because you can like use too much of it and so on when you build too much and things like that. And there are safe ways to do that. And like I said, some of them are illegal, which the illegal ones are never safe. If you're sourcing your PEDs from Thailand, there's a area in Phuket called Fight Alley where it's a gym, like a fight gym, and then next door is a pharmacy where you can buy over-the-counter steroids. And people like go there and then organize for the people in Thailand to ship them steroids to Australia. Those ones are illegal, unsafe, you don't know what they are, stuff like that. But you can go to like testosterone clinics where they will do blood tests on you and give you the correct dosages of testosterone safely. But that is not allowed in sport. So there is this fine line with these enhanced games. Like I said, it's going to be a car crash. There is a massive danger that they won't have any rules in place and people will just pump themselves full of steroids and have heart attacks on the stage. That will be really disturbing. But like James Magnuson at 30, whatever the hell he is,
so whatever credibility he had left, and I don't think he had any credibility to begin with. Whatever credibility he had left is now gone, John. What would Olympic greats like Ian Thorpe, Kathy Freeman, Grant Hackett, what would they think of this, John?
Well,
what would they think about this? John, so this drug Olympics or whatever it wants to be called. Enhanced Games, whatever it wants to be called. John, this... I just can't believe it. We can go further with it. We can talk about things like, well, okay, the winners are only going to be... the athletes from countries who can afford these drugs.
Russia's going to love it.
Well, yeah, one of the great things about the Olympics was always that it would bring countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, they'd get in on it. They'd win gold medals in the athletics. So they're just going to be wiped out and have no opportunity now, John, because they're not going to have the money to spend on drugs like the Russians or
all Russia winning everything.
Yeah, it's like it's been set up for Russia, John.
It's so bizarre. I'm actually like really excited to see what happens. But seriously, there's a massive amount of danger. So James Magnuson, he was interviewed and they asked him like, why would you do it? Like basically, why would you do it, man? Like what is wrong with you? And he just said money. Like that's what it is, money. There's billions of dollars being dropped into it. I think it's going to be next year. And then they plan to do it every 4 years. And it's just going to be like massively, like any country that does, honestly, any country that does state-funded doping programs to win the enhanced games is just ridiculous. They are so ridiculous. If Russia actually was to go and go like, oh, sweet, we don't have to do the Olympics anymore, no one is going to give you any applause for winning the enhanced games.
I said it before, John. What about Flojo? She died at 38
There's so many of them. What's the...
As I said before, John, if somebody dies as a result of this, the organisers of this and the creators of this concept are going to have blood on their hands, John.
Yeah,
blood on their hands.
All the weightlifting is going to be so bad. Like, seriously, it's because in weightlifting, like I said, weightlifting, body, what's it called? Powerlifting.
Yeah.
They already have a massive issue with steroids in lower level competition. And many of them, more than any other sport, die suddenly. At like 21 years old, 20 years old. You watch Traffic with Mariana Vanzella, that's bodybuilding, not powerlifting, right? So, the strongmen looking dudes. She, in the first season, there's an episode about illegal steroid use in bodybuilding, and she goes and sees this young dude who's like 20 years old, who is massively, like, just giant. And he's unable to win anything in bodybuilding, so he gets in bed with, like, guys who are experts at using steroids. And then she goes through his journey with him. And one of the points in it, which like really actually disturbed me massively, was he doesn't get through the heats in some competitions, so he gets like the chance to go in as a wild card. And they go back to a hotel room and go, all right, you got to appear in the next week. We're going to inject you with this. We're going to inject with this. We're going to inject this one. This one might cause you to go into cardiac arrest and die, but we're going to monitor you. And that is the massive danger that you're talking about. Like, there's in stuff like swimming, running, things like that, there's a heightened chance of death, but less chance in something like weightlifting. You're going to get dudes who just pump themselves full of steroids and try and lift like 500 kilos.
This is a concern, John. I feel like we have to point it out on a sports podcast. We've got to point out how ridiculous this whole thing is, because we don't want to see what happened to Flojo and others you've mentioned happen again, John.
World record for deadlifting belongs to Alexei Novikov of the Ukraine in 2020. He lifted 537.5 kilos.
Oh,
Far out. 500. So somebody's going to beat...
You don't do that without being juiced up to the max.
Yeah, but now they're going to be a league... Well, that'd be... Yeah, he must have taken steroids prior. I don't know. I can't accuse him or anything. But because world records need to be not steroided. They get tested for lifting and stuff. But somebody's going to get on the steroids and lift 600 kilos. And it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, big time.
Like, seriously. Imagine someone deadlifting 600 kilos. But there's a massive danger to it. Like I said, to me, it's like a car crash. I won't be able to look away. I will be like deeply engrossed in it because I want to see just how enhanced these guys can be and what they can achieve. Like, Jake Magnuson's like 35 years old, retired from swimming. Yeah, like he's done. You would never expect him to be able to break a world record. But what if he does with with steroids? Like, it'll just be interesting to watch. And then I'm immediately going to go, yeah, but come on, man, he's on steroids. Like, I have no respect for you.
Yeah, they win, or you're the best at drug taking.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're the best. And like they'll always justify it. Yeah, but we still have to train on steroids. On steroids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, it's very.
Like you remember the guy who helped Lance Armstrong? I think his name was Ferrari. I think he was an Italian guy. That just brings slimy figures like him to the surface again, John.
And yeah, everybody should watch Icarus, the documentary about the Russian steroid use, which is super interesting.
Yeah, well, I think Russia might top the medal tally, John. That's my prediction for the enhanced.
State-sponsored.
That's my prediction for the enhanced games medal tally.
That's what I mean. Like, if they were to do that, everyone would look down on them. Like.
I know. What message is this sending to kids, John?
Oh, it's terrible.
This is just terrible.
It's so bad. And that's one of the things in jiu-jitsu. Like I said, steroids isn't illegal, but I know heaps of people who are like, I need to get on the steroids to win at jiu-jitsu because they're not illegal. And the money on offer is like the biggest issue. Like, they're giving away, it's $1.5 million to break Usain Bolt's record. I'd get on the steroids for $1.5 million. Kids don't do drugs. Onwards and upwards. Interesting conversation. Seriously, I'm pumped for it, but I'm just like so disturbed by it. It's like a horror movie. It's like The Conjuring or something. Lindsey Vonn has, Twitter, man. Twitter. So Lindsey Vonn, what did she tweet?
She's posted on Twitter saying I think she's come out and said, or she said in a post about, I think she went skiing with Roger Federer. Lindsay Vonn, obviously, she's posted on Twitter. She said that Roger Federer was her GOAT. And many Novak Djokovic fans have taken exception to this, saying that she's wrong. And then I think she changed the post and she clarified herself. She said, people, GOAT or greatest of all time is a subjective title. What makes someone great? Is it statistics? Is it records? Is it impact? Is it character? Is it all of the above? People have differences of opinion, and that's okay. My GOAT might not be your GOAT, and there will always be a debate. But opinions are just that, opinions, and everyone is entitled to them. Yeah, John, it's just this idea that my GOAT might not be your GOAT. I mean, in my eyes, that there is only one GOAT. The GOAT is the GOAT, and it's not Roger Federer. The GOAT is not something you just wake up in the morning and go, this will be my GOAT today. There's one greatest of all time. And I think what happens, John, is, I might have said it before a few times, of the three players we always talk about, Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, a lot of people, John, are just not interested in tennis. They've got no interest in it, and a lot of them only care about Federer, and they love Federer. Mm-hmm. And because Federer is their favourite of the three, they just say that he's the best of all time without looking at the statistics of the argument. And the statistics overwhelmingly are not in his favour, John. Djokovic has got 24 majors. Nadal's got 22. Federer's got 20. So he loses out there, John. The other Nadal and Djokovic have both won all the majors at least 2 times. Federer has not. So they've got him in that regard. Djokovic has been world number one for a lot more weeks than Federer. That's another one, John. I can keep going. I can go on and on. Nadal's got a winning head-to-head record against Federer. So does Djokovic. He's got a winning head-to-head record against Federer. So that's the thing, John. This idea that you just wake up and go, oh, I'm going to post on Twitter that Roger Federer is my GOAT today. I'm sick of it, John. I know there's a lot of idiots on social media who come after people, but I got to point that out, John. A GOAT is just not your morning plaything that you wake up and post about on Twitter every day.
Yeah, but FOTE doesn't sound the same as GOAT. Favourite of all time. Unfortunately, FOTE isn't a word. GOAT debates happen in all sports. And some people will, in some regard, you'll have statistical analysis that you can use to make, this is the GOAT, right? And then there will always be a response who will say, yeah, but Roger Federer is a better person. That makes him a greater person or whatever. So it's really actually GOAT. To me, a GOAT debate is actually like I said, everyone is actually arguing the FOTE, not the GOAT. Roger Federer doesn't hold any records anymore. We looked it up once on the podcast. Unfortunately for him, Novak Djokovic, and unfortunately for Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic holds all the records. So from a statistical point, he is the greatest of all time. Number 3? No, Novak Djokovic is the greatest of all time statistically at tennis. But Roger Federer is still my FOTE. That's coming. I'm hashtag FOTE, guys.
He's your favourite player of the three.
He's my favourite of all time. Hashtag FOTE.
Favourite of all time.
Leighton Hewitt is actually my FOTE.
He's my FOTE too, John.
Hashtag FOTE, guys. Hashtag FOTE.
Yeah, we're bringing in FOTE.
Yep, FOTE.
This will address this issue.
You have it in MMA. People will argue John Jones versus Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Georges St. Pierre. Right? They're the 3 main ones. There are other ones as well, but they're the 3 main ones. Now, Khabib Nurmagomedov is completely undefeated, 29-0 in his professional record. Only fought in one weight class, only defended the belt 3 times or something like that. John Jones is whatever it is. I better look it up, otherwise I'll get in trouble. John Jones has only ever lost 1 fight, and he was absolutely dominating. I can never remember the guy's name whose claim to fame is winning Matt Hamill, he was absolutely dominating him, and then John Jones got disqualified for accidentally illegally kneeing him. Okay, he's 27 wins, 1 loss, so he's got less wins than Khabib Nurmagomedov. The difference between John Jones and Khabib is John Jones has done title defenses like 20 times and was the youngest champ. Oh, sorry, I should check that anyway, but it was a lot more than anyone else. One of his titles is no contest overturned for drug testing. John Jones has been suspended for a few times, but again, he's got way more title defenses than Khabib. George St. Pierre is the only, well, actually, now John Jones has got titles across 2 weight divisions. George St. Pierre lost his title, has the worst record of the 3, but won across 2 divisions, won in every single possible way. These ones you'll have the debate, right? The statistics you can use. People hate John Jones because he's a drug cheat. People hate Khabib because he's a weight bully. His record is padded. People like George St. Pierre as the GOAT more because he's a nicer guy and much more likable. However, in tennis, from a statistical standpoint, there is only one. You actually can't have that argument. There is
that's why we were going to do an honestly, guys, it's just our opinion on it, John. But then we thought, but it's not a debate anymore. Yeah, so we're not going to do it anymore.
You can just look at the statistics and you just go, that's it. Like I always say, Roger Federer is my GOAT because there was no word before, but now there is.
Vote is your vote.
Yeah. No matter what, Novak Djokovic will never become my vote. But
yeah, if you're gonna, and that's fair enough. That's what Lindsey Vonn should have said.
There are sports in which you can have the argument over who is the GOAT. Okay, MMA, perfect example. Boxing is another one. Like, is Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali the GOAT? Or Floyd Mayweather, you know? Yeah. Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali both have losses. Floyd Mayweather doesn't. People will say Floyd Mayweather fought cans later on in his career to pad his record. Other people will argue and say it's bullcrap and he didn't. I have no opinion either way. I think Floyd Mayweather is an amazing boxer. People will then ask, like, who do you think would win, Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali? And they'll have these arguments because it's not clear. But statistically, Novak Djokovic holds every record except Rafael Nadal has one of the Opens.
French Opens.
Yes.
You mentioned that, John, so I'll just take that as an example. Rafael, and I know the French Open is Rafael Nadal's slam and it's not Roger Federer's slam. I get that. Rafael Nadal won 14 French Opens, John. Roger Federer only won 1. He's won 13 more French Opens than Federer. And you have all these people saying, and I know that's only one specific example, but you have all these people saying that Federer is better than Nadal. It's just...
I think the thing with Roger Federer actually is I think he was the first to become a clear men's tennis greatest of all time. You know, he was the first to get to...
Because he got to 20 first.
He had beaten all of those other guys. He went for that, whatever it was, like 37 sets without dropping. He set all these records.
He sat up there on his own and no one really thought the other two would catch him.
He was the first.
And they haven't just caught him.
Rafael Nadal surpassed him.
Yeah.
And then Novak Djokovic surpassed him in every regard. Unfortunately, statistically.
And that's the thing, like Lindsey Vonn, she's an Olympic champion. That's the thing. She's making a Twitter post, John, saying that he's the GOAT. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? Like, people are going to react to that. She's high profile. She's got a lot of followers. What do you think's going to happen? People are going to react to that and respond to that when your claims are highly questionable. That's just what's going to happen.
Exactly.
You got to take more care next time when you're posting something like that on social media. If you're putting that out there, you're going to get backlash. I'm sorry, that's what social media is like. You can't put that out there and then not expect to cop some backlash, John.
100%.
Djokovic has now cleared Federer by 4 majors, 24-20.
Longest time.
The count is so clear,
every
John.
single record that Roger Federer held is now being taken by Novak Djokovic. Every single one. We looked it up once. He no longer holds like any records. Unless you chuck in...
I think he's still got him for Wimbledon titles. Federer's got 8, Djokovic has got 7, but that's only one...
Unless you chuck in something like Swiss, you know?
Yeah.
He's got the most majors for a Swiss male tennis player. Yeah. So, it is a ridiculous argument. Like, so you can argue in some sports, you can't argue statistics in tennis. It's just not possible.
Yeah, and I say that about Djokovic and Wimbledon, but Djokovic has got 10 Australian Open titles as well, you know, so... Anyway, it's a good discussion.
But it's February, and what comes with February in Australia is sporting organisations getting involved in pride and fans being upset about sports involvement in pride. And this year, to kick us off for the year, because we'll be coming to all the other sports, I'm sure, A-League has kicked off the season of arguments over whether sports should be involved in pride celebrations.
Yeah, and people they don't like it, John, because, I mean, the A-League is in a real spot of bother, and there's a lot of people saying, well, maybe you should focus on, your bottom line before you focus on every other cause that's out there. And it's been pointed out the A-League has burned through $140 million in less than 3 years. Almost half, it was reported by Fairfax that almost half of the workforce behind the A-Leagues were to be made redundant. The A-League's media division, Keep Up, is said to have cost at least $30 million to establish and maintain. That's collapsed and will shut down on March 1. So you can see where the fans are coming from who are calling this out, John. They're going, well, maybe you should focus on what's essential, which is running your game properly from a financial point of view before you worry about these sorts of causes. Again, John, we're not taking anything away from the cause itself. We're just saying that is this really the role of a soccer body that's struggling to keep itself afloat financially, John? Surely they've got other priorities.
I would say that, like, all the pride celebrations, as much as it pains me to say it, like, as you said, I'm not giving my opinion either way. All the pride celebrations are a marketing exercise. And if that is your motivation, then actually you need to go and look at, as you said, the bottom line. What's going on? How are we going to market this? How are we going to build players? And if your marketing exercise when you're losing money is we got to continue our yearly pride issue, your marketing is bad. It's when you're in a place of success, okay, that you can get involved in. That you can do. Your marketing team can get involved in like everything. They have a famous saying in marketing. It's like, I know that 50% of my marketing budget is working. I just don't know which 50%. Okay. Yeah. People always... I have been to massive seminars and stuff about the Coca-Cola sign in King's Cross. It's not there anymore. And discussions about like whether it was effective for selling Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has literally zero way of knowing. But they have such a huge marketing budget and so much success that they can do stuff like that. They could have painted it rainbow and they wouldn't know if it was effective, whether there was arguments or not. They're at a point where they can go, we spend $1 billion and we make $2 billion. Whatever we're doing is working.
Yeah.
Whereas the A-League is in a situation where it's, we spend $1 billion and we make negative $500 million. Every single decision we make, we have to know that it's going to work 100%. And jumping into the Pride celebration, I know it's February. Like I said, it's February. This happens every year with every sport. They had bomb threats at AFL or ARU or something one year. They had like this kind of thing. But A-League, the fans are right. A-League need to be looking at like every single thing, everything that they are doing when they're in a negative financial position. They need to assess it and go, what is the outcome? What is the goal? And what will be the outcome? It has to be 100% success. A pride celebration, a pride investment is not going to be, it's not something that you can quantifiably measure very well. And that's the bad way to do marketing. If you're in a negative position, you don't invest marketing in things that aren't quantifiably able to be measured on whether it worked or not. I don't care, man. Like, I honestly don't care. I never complain either way in this thing. Like, I didn't really care about the Sea Eagles pride jersey thing. I more cared about the hypocrisy. Like, it was the same with Israel Folau. I always get Israel Adesanya and Israel Folau. Like, I don't have skin in the game. I don't have an opinion either way. But I really hate hypocrisy. And Israel Folau's whole thing about, like, these 6 different types of people will go to hell, and homosexuals are one of them. And I don't like homosexuality, and it's against my religion, and I should be allowed to say whatever I want. Also, give me my money that I get paid by the AAU who supports pride. Like, that hypocrisy is the thing that gets to me. There's no hypocrisy in this from the fans. they're saying, like, dude, your
Yeah,
sporting code's not making money.
If the sport's on its knees and a code is promoting a cause that, let's be honest, John, it's all well and good if you want to promote pride and everything. That's fine. But is it really the job of a soccer league to do it? And so then you go...
Only when they're successful.
And so then you go, well, when the soccer league's on its knees financially and you put this out there, well, of course you're going to get some backlash from the fans. Of course.
And it's not going to be... That's why, like, it's not quantifiably measurable in revenue, but you will have less people go to games and stuff like that, actually. And there's also the other thing that's really common in marketing. All publicity is good publicity. That is a massive myth. Okay.
Yeah.
It used to be like 50 years ago before the internet, but the internet makes or breaks you now. It's like you get negative publicity on the internet, you are broken. Not. That's why restaurants close down from negative reviews and things like that. Like just know your market, know your place, know your role.
Soccer's still better than American football, John. So it's okay.
Yeah,
still better to watch.
It's true. More happens in a shorter amount of time. Yes. That's it for our other sports news this week. Some great discussions in there. A lot of controversy and so on.
Our little shorts are going to be interesting.
Yeah. I can't wait for the abuse. On to our social media blower uppers, where we'll get some of these from next few weeks. Ryan on the South Sydney preview on TikTok. Rugby isn't popular enough to be having poddies. I believe that means podcast.
And I believe that means Rugby League.
Yes, my friend. Rugby and Rugby League are different in Australia. We are the only country that makes the distinction. Definitive distinction.
Took the time out of his day to make the comment.
If you say so, man.
Maybe it is popular enough.
Pretty sure it's popular. But if you want to just talk about rugby, it's one of the most popular sports in the world. So, actually. Also, it's one of the top 2 most watched sports in Australia where we are. So you're wrong, Ryan. Completely wrong.
Was he talking about Rugby League, is that right?
Yeah, he's talking about rugby league.
And it's called it rugby.
Yeah. So speaking from ignorance in ignorance. Nafets on Andy Roddick's Djokovic comments. Mm-hmm. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. Djokovic declining, please. He's number 1 and will retire that way too.
Yeah,
Andy Roddick said it.
That's one line of argument, John. We should point out he did still win 3 majors last year. But another point to make is, outside of Federer and Nadal, obviously, John, historically, there wasn't really anyone who knocked Djokovic off in the majors. Stan Wawrinka had his moments as well. But other than those, but they're of a different generation. Of the new generation of players, nobody had knocked him off in majors until Alcaraz at Wimbledon last year and Yannick Sinner only a matter of weeks ago in the Australian Open this year. So that's where you look at what Roddick said and you go, well, it's a fair enough point. We're starting to see the younger generation knock him off, and we hadn't seen in majors, and we hadn't seen it before, John. So I don't completely agree with this comment. Yeah, I think Andy Roddick had a point, John.
Yeah, and our discussion was we're going to reserve judgment till the next major in June anyway.
Yeah, it's a reserved judgment, but Roddick is... I wouldn't say that Andy Roddick is wrong at all, 100%. John.
Andrew Peros 984 on the Parramatta preview. Great show, gentlemen. John, that's me. I have to ask why you were surprised that the Eels re-signed Bryce Cartwright. Could you kindly elaborate on that one? Now, it's going to sound harsh. And, we've just had a whole thing about social media about how you wouldn't say this stuff in front of him. Look, Bryce Cartwright has played... He started at the Panthers, moved to the Titans, and played for the Eels. In 2022, when the Eels made the finals, this was the whole thing about him, right? This is why I'm surprised. He only played 10 matches in 2022. He was left out of the first 2 trials matches with Jacob Arthur replacing him on the interchange bench in 2022. And then he was selected for Parramatta in the preliminary final victory over North Queensland, and then left out of the team again. Okay, so Parramatta in 2022, when they had a successful year, didn't really rate Bryce Cartwright that well. In 2023, yes, he played 24 matches. Parramatta went badly. I'm not putting all of it on Bryce Cartwright, but Bryce Cartwright has a history of being he's been through 3 clubs. he hasn't exactly set the world on fire from Parramatta since he's been there in 2021. He's in their success year. He was chosen as like the guy to drop out. Like he's just basically like rated in 2022. He was rated as like a fringe first grader. I'm surprised that they re-signed him instead of going and finding someone else. Actually, I find him to be a bit of a turnstile in defence as well. Just so you know. No. And then I just go to the gains and losses because that was the other thing about why I was surprised they re-signed him. So they gained only Morgan Harper and Kelma Tuilagi. That was one of the things we highlighted about the Eels. They only gained those guys, and one of the choices they made was to re-sign Bryce Cartwright when they haven't gotten any gains. So I'm surprised they chose him over going and finding someone else.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's fair. I think you've addressed that one, John.
That's it. So, yeah. Vic Sophios 5892 on the Roosters preview. You question their spine but still think they'll do all right.
John, I might be wrong. I don't remember us questioning their spine.
Well, I said Tedesco was old and I don't think Brandon Smith's a good hooker.
Oh, right, okay. Right.
But I did very clearly say, like, it's irrelevant because the rest of their team is so good.
Yeah, right.
And no matter what, if Teddy has a bad year, it won't matter because they'll carry him to the finals.
That's the thing. I think Tedesco is looking tired, John, and I don't think he'll last too much longer. But they've signed the top try scorer on the wing.
Yeah.
And they've got Tupou on the other wing. They've got the two tallest wingers in the NRL. So good luck trying to stop them scoring tries from high kicks on either side.
Strike up the middle. Bench is amazing. Their halves are really good. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are like some of the best in the league. It's just I think they're 1 and their 9 is a little.
They've added the best impact player in the competition in Spencer Leniu to come off the bench. So that's the thing. We might have pointed out their spine was looking a bit tired in certain areas, but it's still a team that made week 2 of the finals last year. So they made week 2 of the finals and added the top try scorer and the best bench player in the game. So we pointed out that is enough to get them from week 2 into the top 4. Exactly. I think that's a fair position to hold, John.
And then Paul Heathwood 7193 on the Roosters preview. Man, Roosters fans kind of get a bit worked up.
Yeah.
Struggle at fullback. What are you boys smoking? Crack. The Australian fullback will be carried. That will do me. Never switch on again, boys. Give yourself a dozen.
So he's ignored the fact that the incoming New South Wales coach has stopped short of picking him again in the New South Wales team this year. And if you read between the lines of what Maguire said, if he was picking a New South Wales team tomorrow, Tedesco would not be in it. So that's been overlooked by that comment.
The Australian fullback that was in a team that lost 30-0 in a final in the most recent Australian...
Yeah, and as far as we can tell, will not be picked in the New South Wales State of Origin side unless he has a blinder of an 8 weeks to start the season, John.
The General, hi General. I gave my opinion on episode 46. I gave my opinion on how Sticky was unlucky in every grand final loss and Robbo was fortunate in 2 of his grand final wins. We see it differently. We can agree to disagree on that. People with me saying Robbo is overrated, they aren't even talking about that stuff. It's the fact that season after season seems to not have any answers. It's underachieving with the roster he's got. A criticism of Wayne to some is that he only wins with stacked sides. Well, Robbo was underachieving in that department before the back-to-back titles and hasn't fired a shot since. I understand he's 3 for 3 and has many rings as Bellamy and Ivan. It sounds bizarre, but Uncle Nick isn't going to stay patient forever. All good points. The Roosters do not accept and tolerate continual finals appearances without grand finals, actually. They don't. Like, if you're a Roosters coach and you make the finals 5 years in a row, but you don't win a premiership, they do tend to move you on. I can't remember what Ricky Stewart's actual record was. He did win that grand final, but he made a bunch of finals and stuff like that, and then was going to get sacked.
So, yeah, I mean, Ricky, of course, won that premiership back in 2002 with the Roosters. He says Sticky was unlucky in every grand final loss. I got 2 points to make on that. The first one is, I agree he was unlucky in 2019. I agree he was unlucky in 2004 when they only didn't win because Andrew Ryan made that diving tackle on Michael Crocker at the end of the game. If Ryan had not made that tackle, the Roosters go ahead and win that game at the end, and that would have been I think I would have just, basically and then never watched rugby league again if that had happened, John, in the state I was in watching that game at that time. But, I mean, I don't think they were unlucky in 2003, though, John. I think they were well beaten by Penrith, so I don't agree with the general on that. Which, ironically, he's a Penrith supporter, so I would have thought he would have gone along with me on that. But anyway, John, the other point I would make about that comment, Sticky unlucky in every grand final loss, but in general, he's just in the grand final so rarely. I mean, he's been in one grand final since 2004, and that was 20 years ago now. And that grand final appearance was in 2019. So you make that point about him being unlucky in grand finals. Yes, I think he was unlucky in two of them, but he just gets there so rarely, John. Yeah. His success is so rare.
And he misses the finals and gets the spoon.
He won the spoon with Parramatta. There are a bunch of other times where he had second last finishes as well, John. So that's the thing. Unlucky in grand final losses, okay, but he just, as I said, he gets there so rarely, John.
General, I don't know why you like Ricky Stewart so much. You're a Penrith supporter.
Yeah, I do love the General, John, and he's always constructive. But I have to disagree on some things there, John.
You guys can come to my gym and have a roll. It's fun. David Clark 3450 on Spirit of the Game in cricket. This is cricket, and no, the rules don't make the spirit of the game. In fact, when you make a rule, you remove the spirit of the game from that area. What is not written in the rules, but which occurs, or rules that are enacted differently for cultural reasons, make the spirit of the game. In this case, in cricket, after a ball has been bowled, if a batsman touches the ball, he can be given out for interference. In fact, the rules say that, yes, he has interfered. However, it's common practice for batsmen to pick up a ball at their feet and throw it back to the bowler as a sporting gesture. This is technically interference, but if the bowling side does not appeal, he cannot be adjudicated as out. That goes on all the time, except when you occasionally have an asshole bowler who appeals and forces the umpire to apply the rule. You can change the rule to give the umpire discretion. If you do, you remove a well-known area in which spirit of the game is expressed. In other words, new rules put in place where discretion once existed for players destroy the opportunity to express integrity of spirit. But you can't complain about it. That's the thing. Like, it's a rule. You can't complain about it. That's the main point. You can't complain about it. It's the rule. And that was about, the guy who didn't ask permission to pick up the ball and got out in the under-19s. It's the rule. Cricket seems to be the only sport in the world where people complain when the rules are enforced and say it goes against the spirit of the game and then don't want the rules changed. That's the rule. That's the rule.
If you're a batsman and you don't want to be given out handling the ball, well, don't pick the ball up. The batsman doesn't have to pick the ball up.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like
don't
I said,
do it.
I'd be getting them to pick it up at my feet.
If you don't pick it up, you got no problem.
Yeah.
You solve the problem by not picking it up. You have nothing. If you're a batsman, you have nothing to gain out of picking the ball up.
Exactly.
Nothing. So don't do it.
Just don't do it.
It's not rocket science.
On the same video, Louis Blue 345 said, "What is the context of this?" And as I said, it was the context of a player being given out. I love this comment. Chanted 76 on a short about the person getting hit by a ball in the face. I'm a terrible catch, but I have incredible aim. I've been hit in the face by so many items during the 47 years of my life. Car keys hurt the most. Dude, you need to stop getting stuff thrown to you. If someone's going to throw something, you go, no, I'll come get it. Especially car key. Flying Dinosaur 69 on the same video said, "Why am I surprised? Cricket podcasts are just as boring as cricket." Oh, don't watch, man. Don't watch cricket. Don't watch podcasts.
I mean, John, people might disagree with us. I think we can fairly say that we're not boring.
Yeah. Whatever, man. Benny 32831 on the discussion about having to delete the videos due to the vitriol that we had that week. All sad faces. I agree, Benny. It was super sad.
So he's not having a go at us?
No. He's just saying it was sad that we had to delete stuff, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think Benny 32831 has commented before.
All right. Okay.
So just the housekeeping. So we've just announced today Mitchell Pearce's ambassadorship. You're going to be competing against him in the NRL tipping competition. People who enter the NRL tipping competition can obviously enter the tips every week. Every week, the person with the best tips will win $100, and the person with the best tips at the end of the year will win $10,000 cash. Try and compete against Dan, me, Mitchell Pearce. We also now have Julie Snook, who is a sports personality who's going to be doing the AFL tipping competition. So tip against Julie Snook in the AFL. You can find the competitions on the smartb.com.au or links in our social media. Again, same with AFL. Whoever has the best tips for the week gets $100, and whoever has the best tips at the end of the year gets $10,000.
Pretty good prize, John.
Yeah, I wish I was
10 large
because I know I'm going to win. There's also the Subversion competition. Subversion Rain is on April the 6th. Tickets are almost sold out, so this may be your only way to get tickets. I think they've only got 30% of the general admission tickets left or something. It's world-class athletes like Fionn Davies, Ash Williams coming over to Australia to compete on Subversion at the Roundhouse. It is an over-18s event only. So you get your tickets or sign up to smartb.com.au and possibly win tickets. So you sign up for smartb.com.au for the tip of the day. And don't forget to listen to the SmartB Racing Update every Friday with Bryce and Lewis. They've picked a few good winners in it. It's not very long. It's only like 10, 20 minutes long, and they go through racing for the weekend for their tips.
Where can I find that, John?
That's on Spotify, Apple Music, everything. And the link will go on our website this week.
Yeah. Is that on YouTube, that one? Or is it...
No, it's just an audio podcast.
Oh, right, okay.
And then don't forget to follow at SmartB app on social media, and you'll be able to see the updates for the SmartB Racing Update. Cool.
Awesome.
See you guys later. Have a wonderful weekend. Oh, no, not weekend. And bye, Producer John.